in South Dakota through about 10 o'clock, but then making their way into northeastern Nebraska, northwest Iowa, southwest Minnesota. Again, you are under a severe thunderstorm watch until 1 a.m. The main threats: widespread damaging winds, isolated significant gusts to 80 miles per hour. Kind of says on your screen 90 miles an hour. They're saying 80 miles an hour for northwest Iowa and southwest Minnesota. Maybe some large hail to 1.5 inches and tornado or two possible. And that's now in Minnesota and in Iowa. So this thing is getting going, and there's really no reason to think it's going to slow down or stop. So it's just going to keep on moving to the east and to the southeast. What are you looking at right now, BK? I see you're examining those storms again to the west of the Sioux Falls area.
Yeah, this is one of the, again, just looking at some of the data that we're examining, and you can see this is a damaging wind product as we're looking at the latest potential there throughout the evening. And you'll kind of notice too that the modeling here is trying to take what's going on right now. There's around the Gregory area. That's pretty obvious that that's been occurring, and obviously becoming a major problem there with tornado, strong winds, all the rest that goes with that. And then what we're looking at here is eventually kind of where this settles out. You know, this is a projection at 9 o'clock, but it's tending to hint at some of these really strong winds in this vicinity here, extending. And it could be, again, Nebraska side of the border. There's a look at Yankton. Again, this is a value that goes through basically about 9 o'clock tonight. I'll do a couple things here. I don't normally do this, but I am going to bring up a couple of sample points. I'm not calling this out as directly where this really strong wind's going to occur, but it gives you an idea. And again, this is where, let me click on this button. Hold on just a moment here. I'm going to click this, and then we're going to pop up. I'm going to reset this for you. So this is going to show again where some of these peak wind gusts can occur here tonight. And obviously there's going to be more to this story, but I think that 80 to, as you've been saying, Jay, there could be as much as 90-mile-an-hour winds in a couple of spots, and it basically just depends on where these storms decide to flare up the worst here. There's going to be pockets of that. This has been part of our story the whole evening. And right now, as we go back to live radar, here's the setup. We've got several storms going on, and two of which are tornadic. So as we circle back to this, let's go right to the latest. If you're watching us just to the west of Stickney, that's a very suspicious looking hook there. That's about as predominant as it's been all evening. Again, that's just due north of Aurora Center. So if you're in that area, again, to the south of Plankington, this is a supercell storm, and that is a tornado warning that is in effect on radar. Let me look at the internals on that storm, and again, it's not as pronounced as it was earlier, so that's some good news. And again, it has had a history of producing funnel clouds, but that's where we need to be at right now on that storm. Then the second one that's been to the south, we've been watching all of this developing here. We've got basically two cells. We got the one that's tornadically warned here. That hook, it looks like right on the Missouri River. That's been crossing near Pickstown and to the south, so that includes a big chunk of southern Charles Mix County. I'll click on that warning for you at the present moment so you can see exactly where that is located. And again, that's a warning until 7:45 for that area. And then everything on the Nebraska side is a severe thunderstorm warning for Boyd County. So those storms have been very, very strong the last several hours. And obviously when we watch a couple of new items, Jay, I was just noticing here a little bit of development going on there just between Mitchell and Parkston. Brand new severe thunderstorm warning just popping out for Davison County. That's now Mitchell. That's this storm to the north. This is the one that now is coming out of Letcher.
Yep. Suspected of 60-mile-an-hour winds and 1.25 inches hail.
Yep, and that's again headed to the southeast. So that is also another development here, because not that long ago we didn't have necessarily much going on there. I want to go back on the radar and show you the time lapse over the last hour, so you can kind of actually see we almost have even arguably maybe there's a split in there just a little bit, but certainly it started off here as one storm. storm, and now we appear to have maybe just kind of a lengthening area where now we've got a break-off piece, and that's all part of that area that will be moving into Sioux Falls a little later on this evening.
Looks like about an hour out, doesn't it?
Yeah, that's why I would really call that out, because that's an area to the northwest of Sioux Falls that can come in, or, you know, as it kind of groups up with any of these other storms. Now that we're getting into the 7 o'clock hour, that's kind of when we figured we'd start seeing that. But again, that's where we're at least at as of the present moment, Jay.
Yeah, we are seeing those linear line segments start to develop, and that's kind of what we look for in a storm that's going to produce a lot of wind. And so it looks like these things are evolving, and that's what storms do. They don't stay the same way all the time. As they go through time, conditions change, and sometimes they start as small, isolated little thunderstorms. They work together. Sometimes they begin line segments. Wind becomes a threat, and that appears kind of what seems to be happening right now. Again, the area we're watching is in the eastern part of the KELO land region. We do have a broad area of severe thunderstorm watch. Now, Sioux Falls area till 10 o'clock tonight, but if you're in Minnesota or Iowa or northeastern Nebraska, you are under severe thunderstorm watch until 1 a.m. The conditions are largely the same, and the expectations are largely the same. Still expecting to see some very strong winds, wind gusts, 80 miles an hour possible, and we could have some more tornadic cells forming. We've seen spin off and on, especially down toward the Nebraska border, and also some hailstones are possible. We've seen those mainly in northeastern South Dakota. We have had some big hailstones. We're talking about baseball size or bigger have fallen in a few locations up in the northeastern part of South Dakota. So if you're just joining us, that's why we have been on the air, because the situation has been developing. Storm Prediction Center, watching this area before the watch was issued, put eastern South Dakota, especially from I-90 to the north, it was called an enhanced risk area. A moderate risk area, which is higher than advanced. But anyway, that's the second highest area of concern that they look at as a severe weather threat. So clearly the conditions are there for these strong thunderstorms to form, and a lot of time, and BK was making this point earlier, a lot of times it is the quantity of severe thunderstorms that come into it, and we certainly had a lot of those. I'm sure by the time we get to tomorrow, we're going to be adding up all the warnings and all the local storm reports, and it's going to be pretty considerable because we've seen widespread incidents all across the area today, and mostly the activity has been out of that cell that we've been watching down near the Nebraska border, down toward the Pickstown area, and that one is this is Brian's looking at the one now that's northwest of Mitchell.
Yes, that's northwest of Mitchell, or just to the west of Mitchell there, near the Stickney area, and you can see the vertical development there on that storm. I was just kind of going through that a little bit here, and also while I'm at it here, I was also looking at some of the new tornado. We've got a lot of video. We've got a lot of things that we're just not able to get to all of that right now because of what's been going on here this evening. But if I can just quickly, I'll just do this super fast here. There's one of the tornadoes again near the Gregory area. I'm pretty sure we were witnessing that one on the camera. I remember we were looking at the opposite direction, and it looked like that cone.
Yep, we didn't looks very familiar.
Yeah, we just didn't quite have as much contrast as that viewer did from their vantage point, but obviously that's just a quick sample of what we've been watching there. Let me flatten out the view here for a moment and kind of reset things, because with the additional severe thunderstorm watch that came out for northwest Iowa, southwest Minnesota, we're at a point in the evening where, you know, it's going to be pretty critical to be watching the weather here in the next couple of hours to see what happens, because I would argue most of these cells are still primarily supercells. That's clearly going on here here, this one that has the tornado warning south of Plankington. This to the north of Mitchell is a little bit more of a structure that can start to produce wind. But when we look at this map in 1 hour from now, what we should start witnessing, and I think we're already starting to see this, is that these are going to connect. And then that whole thing is going to push off to the east. And we still, as of the top of the hour, every 60 minutes we're getting brand new data on this, but it's still suggesting these very powerful winds embedded within these. So that's where we stand. We're going to just continue our live coverage, obviously, with all of the impending weather. The folks in the Northeast are getting severe storms as well. They're not quite as strong, but we have a warning in effect for Grant County right now. I do want to acknowledge, too, that there have been other storms developing on the western side of this. I've got a different vantage point of that. You can see west of Huron, there are some storms too, but I do think right now this is the big line that's beginning to flare, because it looks to me like this just keeps kind of filling in. It's growing, Jay. It seems like there's just more of these that are going to be bumping into one another. So again, that's kind of the expectation tonight as these move to the east.
All right, and I did want to take a look at another piece of information that we have. This is our Futurecast, and what this is one of the forecast models. And again, what Brian was talking about is this one does combine all those two storms that Brian was talking about, connects them together. So this is kind of we've been talking about Sioux Falls, the 8 or 9 o'clock hour, and this is one of the reasons we've been saying that is what it does appear it's going to be. And then toward 10 o'clock, moving out of South Dakota, moving into Minnesota, Iowa, and northwest Iowa. Now, there is the potential on the backside of that for what we call a wake low to form, and what that means is additional less strong storms to form behind that line, and that would be around in the areas we head into the overnight hours. But in any event, and then that should push through, and we do have the severe thunderstorm watch that continues until 1 a.m. for all of our viewers in Minnesota and in Iowa. And the area we're looking at again is way up in is pretty much all of the KELO region right now, central and the northeast. That's where you do have that severe thunderstorm watch. Again, 10 o'clock in Sioux Falls, and 1 a.m. for Minnesota, Iowa, northeastern Nebraska. And isolated strong wind gusts continues to be our greatest concern. The strongest wind gust we've seen actually is up around Summit, where a highway sensor picked up a 77-mile-an-hour gust earlier. Oh, I guess we did have a couple of other reports from some home stations over 70 miles an hour. But let's see how this thing comes together and if these two cells connect. And again, tornadoes possible is what we say, because actually that is what is occurring, especially the two red areas on your screen, which is down toward Pickstown, and areas now southwest of Mitchell, kind of heading in the direction of Stickney. BK, you're looking at the temperatures right now. You can see the contrast, the cooler air to the west and the warmer, moist air to the east.
Yeah, I was just looking at top of the hour observations here too with the wind, and obviously there's a lot that you're not going to see on the specifics here because we've got space between these observation points, but it still looks to me like we've got that boundary that's in place right there close to Highway 18. If you were watching us a few minutes ago, we were talking about the weather patterns tonight and how it looks like things are kind of congealing toward that boundary. And what I'm seeing here right now is that the new storm development that we're observing here to the northwest of Mitchell, this is headed this direction. The storms out here in Charles Mix County are still, there's a component there at least moving to the east. So that might be one more additional clue as to how all of this kind of forms together here. But right now you've got strong winds northwest of Mitchell, still a tornadic circulation on that cell to the near the Stickney area. That's been Doppler radar indicated. And then of course we continue with a Doppler radar indicated tornado in the areas just near Wagner. In fact, I want to go back to Viper there because it appears, Jay, we've got more of a signature of some of that at least one of those markers here just north of Wagner. So we definitely need to be attentive to that. I was curious to see what was triggering that. And, you know, you can kind of tell in there, if you zoom in and we kind of probe here a little bit, you know, there's some pretty strong winds.
Yeah, they've canceled the tornado warning for that area, so that's the straight line winds. Very strong downdraft winds is probably what is around Wagner.
Yeah, that would appear to be the case there. Do you notice too that the movement of that is now just starting to take off to the northeast? That's interesting that just pulled out of that area, and it is not taking a track, at least that segment's not. We might be seeing the very beginnings of this right there. That's an interesting development that just popped up here in the last few minutes, Jay.
We're getting more and more signals that these two broad areas want to come together, don't we?
Yeah,
connect.
And again, just another observation, because it appears to me, and in fact you can even see that ahead of that, there's some outflowing going on here. There's a little bit of a weak channel there on the radar signature. Let me just pull up the regular view. You can't see that as well here because it's just one big red blob. You basically have just a lot of heavy rain in there. Probably some hail too embedded within it. Our hail tracker says the hail is just a little bit to the south of Wagner right now. So those are some of the overview elements. But let me do this a moment. Okay, we're going to go back to the wind signature that we just showed, and I'm going to click this button right here. Okay, so keep that in mind, what's going on down in Wagner, and that's kind of headed in the general direction of Tripp. Then you've got everything here north of Mitchell. Now this is a little less organized. There's not as much happening there yet. There are a couple of little cells that are still kind of popping a little bit east of Mitchell, but none of that too strong yet. But remember where we showed, I can't remember, Jay, if that was a half an hour ago, we showed that line on Highway 18. It looked like right in here is kind of where that boundary is. And I'm kind of looking in the background here too at the newest observations, but it appears to me that that is still, like Parkston right now has a northeast wind at about 10, and we're looking at areas near Tyndall with a southeast wind at 10. So it's a real subtle feature, but it gives us a little bit more of a clue as to how this area could just try to feed right into that. And I'll be curious to see when it jumps into Hutchinson County what it starts looking like. But it's already beginning to show a push of wind. Any of this to the northwest, that also could interact with these things. That's a little bit more of a, you know, we'll wait and see on all of that. But it definitely is part of our weather story tonight. Just wanted to make that observation, Jay, just, you know, kind of watching some of the particulars. I know our audience in Sioux Falls, obviously, you know, gathering, and I would encourage, if you, you know, if you're just tuning in here, kind of watching the weather tonight, you're going to have to kind of be in it for the long haul when this goes through. It's going to come through, obviously, here this evening, but as it does so, we expect a continuous progression toward more of a damaging wind threat tonight, and that's basically our main concern here over the next couple of hours.
Well, I tell you what's going on is we have had, in fact, the red areas in the screen, the 2 tornado warnings, those have just been dropped. It looks like those 2 areas of thunderstorms are now, as you said, it looks like they might be trying to come together to form one big storm, and that's what we are concerned about here. So I just want to go back and show you the way this thing has developed in the last few hours. Everything has come together towards southeastern South Dakota, moving towards Sioux Falls. Cells are going to be coming through Mitchell. Looks like they may be coming together. So Sioux Falls, the I-29 corridor, we are still maybe a half hour out or so as these storms come together. If they do, we still have the potential for very strong, if not destructive, winds to come our way. BK, you have an update there?
Yeah, I want to go back to the source here on the second box here. So there's some evidence of some stronger wind. That was 75. Now that's a radar indicated wind measurement. That's a 90-mile-an-hour wind gust at where the beam of the radar is hitting that cloud, which out toward Wagner is going to be a little higher off the ground. But the fact of the matter is we've got this circulation point, or basically where Viper is trying to indicate here, where there's probably some trouble going on. It usually does a pretty good job of that. I'm going to clear this for a moment. Let me reset this because I can see. I'm going to take the marker off here for a moment because I was just curious as to what is going on there.
Get that Grant County thing off there.
Yep.
You're not showing Grant County.
There we go. Yep. And this is, again, all of that area just to the east-northeast of Wagner. That's where, again, we see the possibility of some really strengthening wind occurring right now. And if you are in that area, that to me would signal more of a problem. This is giving us a kind of a behind-the-scenes list of parameters we look at. But I see that shear at 80. That's a number that should pop up. Yeah, that is a lot, and that's a number that we would definitely be more concerned with as this pops up here. And again, this is our rotation detector, but it does pick up on some of these general parameters in that area. And it's been part of a line of very strong weather that's been crossing through southern Charles Mix County. So we believe that this is part of this whole system here tonight that's going to continue to evolve. And you can see the movement. Let me do this one quick movement here. We're going to go back on the radar so you can see, instead of tracking to the southeast, this little segment has now turned the corner and is moving more to the east-northeast. And that's significant because that's also part of what we were, at least monitoring as a potential here tonight to see if that would start to form here, Jay.
Yeah, and that you were just mentioning that warning that just got issued there. They did include 70-mile-per-hour of potential winds as a result of that radar image you're looking at right there, those bright green colors. So based on that, the new severe thunderstorm warning, again, that's portions of Bonham, Charles Mix, Douglas, and Hutchinson counties where they all come together there. And it's because of that bright green area you see on your screen where the radar is saying we've got those very strong winds moving in from the west. So, yep, it looks like it is now becoming what we've been expecting it to become, which is a big windstorm.
Yeah, the wind element is certainly formidable and will continue to pick up here. So again, that's one of these areas that we wanted to flag that down right away when we started noticing that, because that's different. That's something new that has emerged in all of this. And so as the Weather Service considers that 70-mile-an-hour wind right now, that's a damaging wind threat there for Bonham County and portions of southwestern and southern Hutchinson counties of South Dakota. Nothing in the northeast that's of immediate concern. That's good news. I'm glad to report that. I'm going to bring you up to speed on the warnings here around Grant County. We still have some severe thunderstorm warnings here, but at the present moment, I would argue more of those are now moving into the Minnesota side of the border. You can see that as we speak here right along the South Dakota border near Gary. North of Gary is where the heaviest part of that storm is, but that's not as organized. I'm definitely going to say right now the main focus is coming in. We still have a storm in Mitchell. I got to go back to that. That's looking to be here north of Mitchell is kind of the heaviest portion of that. So northern Davison County. Looks like some hail. Definitely some other parameters there, but nothing as strong as the one that's a little bit farther to the south. And by the way, too, Jay, I know you'd mentioned here that it looks like that tornadic cell out here near Plankington, that's all weekend. So
yeah, that's been dropped. It hasn't dropped off the map, but
yeah,
it's been dropped.
Appears that this one's taking over, though. That would be my thoughts here, is this one kind of robbing this one to the north. So that's an exchange that's just kind of, we're just seeing that right now at 7:30. So as this moves to the northeast, let's see. Okay, now a new warning came out. This is for the Nebraska side, for Knox County, Nebraska. That's in conjunction with all the rest of this. Big area, 2 large cells there. So they went ahead and just covered that here as of 7:30. So the latest development, probably the biggest thing right now as of of 7:30 is all of this going on between Tripp and Wagner. That's definitely the most suspicious area of concern, and it's pretty tight. You know, there's an 80-mile-an-hour wind in there, which you think about 80-mile-an-hour wind, that's hurricane force winds. So when you get to that level, we're talking destructive winds, and we are certainly paying attention to that. But you can see this whole area we're really concerned about. The diameter of this is about maybe 6 or 7 miles across. It's not a real wide area. So people might be asking, well, are we having a derecho? Well, no, we're not having a derecho right now. But what we need to watch is if this is the beginnings of something like that. We don't know yet, but we will be here to monitor that trend. If this fans out and grows upscale as it goes down to the next line of counties, we shall see. But this is where we're at right now as of 7:30, Jay.
And based upon what we've been thinking and seeing, it looks like we're still kind of about a half hour out from these things coming together toward the Sioux Falls area. So you still have time, actually, if you need to put something away, get it out of the wind. There you see the severe thunderstorm watch. As we were just saying, no warnings or no tornado warnings in effect at the present time. Lots of severe thunderstorm warnings, but we will be seeing things come into the Sioux Falls area from the west. The area is still quite warm. It is quite humid. Those thunderstorms out to the west are moving into a favorable environment, so we are still expecting to see some strong winds. Sioux Falls in the southeastern part of KELO, it's all where the two storms, the way they interact and where they produce the strongest wind, but the potential is certainly there for very strong winds to come into the Sioux Falls area. It is still quite warm in Sioux Falls in southeastern South Dakota. It is still quite humid. In fact, here's a look at the temperatures that we have right now. Temperatures in the southeastern part of KELO are still in the mid to upper 80s. We're in the 70s north and west. That's the cooler, rain-cooled air. That's where the storms have come through. But in addition to that, we've got a lot of humid air. In fact, here are your current dew points. We say the dew points in the 70s are muggy. Well, right now, Sioux Falls, our dew point is 77. That's very humid. And it's 75 out toward Mitchell and Yankton. 82 dew point right now. And the south winds are pushing that humid air out of the Yankton area up toward where we do think the thunderstorms are going to end up here in southeastern South Dakota. Sioux Falls, I-90, maybe to the south, but these are all areas are all under the gun, under the potential there for very strong winds over the next few hours. So we're going to be keeping an eye on those. BK, I've got you. I've got the Sioux Falls live cam popped up there. Clouds starting to gather. Storm still well off to the west. But as far as what's going on in your neck of the neighborhood, we have had a lot of wind potential starting to develop. There is, you are on.
Okay, and you can see the radar loop. I thought this would be good just to kind of reset what's going on here. And as you were talking, just looked at some brand new data. So where are we at here as of 7:30? Well, we're continuing our coverage mostly because right now we've got destructive winds developing in this cell in Charles Mix County. We see the storm track moving at least due east or slightly to the northeast, and that would pick up right along this boundary. So if we're kind of thinking Highway 18, maybe as far north as 44, but we're looking in this area as this seems to be the most predominant area of concern as there's upscale growth. Even right now in the last 10 minutes, Jay, the latest modeling is still trying to produce those 80-mile-an-hour winds closer to Interstate 29, at least some of the segments there within the next 90 minutes to an hour and a half, well, at least over an hour and a half, probably closer to 2 hours, but it does move east quickly here. So as we move into Minnesota, northwest Iowa, we're again going to kind of put out that general heads up. You've got a watch. We see the storms coming in, and we'll monitor everything along this line. There's still a little bit more uncertainty on the northern side of that, but most of the day, when I started looking at this morning, I was seeing a lot of parameters south of Interstate 90 that were looking pretty severe, and at this moment, based on what we're seeing on radar, it looks like that's probably the most likely outcome here, is that that's going to be the storm that takes off here in the next several minutes. I'll be curious as the new radar scans come in. We've got a brand new one right now. I want to pause here for a moment. I want to dial in on this, because when we did this the last time, we were showing some 80-mile-an-hour winds in here, and it appears to me that we're still close to that level. We're probably in those 70 numbers, so there's some pretty strong winds there, and let's just keep an eye on it here as that moves off to the east.
Yeah, those severe thunderstorm warnings posted for that area. Did have a report out of Plankton for what it's worth, nickel-sized hail, but that's, well, it's wind-driven hail. I guess you could say that it is quite windy, along with where those hailstones have been falling. The part of the storm up toward the Mitchell area just updated a little bit, and it's the one you're showing on your screen right there, that box, Charles Mix County, they now are saying 70-mile-an-hour winds observed, plus the 1-inch hail that you're talking about. So the area in green, that's what they're focused in on, the center of that severe thunderstorm warning. That warning continues until 7:45, another 10 minutes from now, as it moves to the east, head in the general direction of Scotland, KELO, those areas, kind of south toward Olivet. Are you doing a storm track on it for us?
Well, and I was looking at that too. It looks like the front end of that is starting to look a little more interesting.
It's looking a little Bowie, isn't it?
Yep. I would say there's definitely evidence of that. Let me back this up, and yes, well, let's do a storm tracker. That's a very obviously something we need to do here. I'm going to take the box off there for the moment. So this is going to go back 30 minutes ago. So there we are. We're at 7 o'clock. A little bit after 7, we were down in Wagner and Ravinia in that area, and then now it's just kind of barreling east, maybe slightly northeast, but it is definitely an eastward movement there. And again, very juicy air, a lot of wind potential in there as that storm movement is making its presence known. So let's do that storm tracker, okay? We're going to bring that up right now. And what's nice about the live Doppler is we can go right in on the street level mapping there. So again, movement here to the east. I know we're in that 30 to 40 mile an hour range right now. This can accelerate, and that's another point of interest here. Sometimes if these bow echo structures get going, they will start to move faster. So this is our initial timeline. You can see Tyndall through 7:45, Menno 8:10. Scotland is in there too on the list at 7:54. And so those storms again are very active, and that would be at this moment the strongest thing that we're indicating on Doppler radar is that cell there, Jay. But the other ones to the north are also still very strong. As we clear the storm tracker there, I'm going to pivot back to the north, and this warning now for Mitchell. Again, Mitchell, you're picking up some really heavy rain. We've got a severe thunderstorm warning in effect for Davison County, and that is going to run until 8 o'clock this evening. So if you're in that section of northeastern Davison County, also portions of Hanson County, northwest of Alexandria, that is a storm that is producing some strong winds and some hail reports there as well. It looks like at the present moment, probably looking at not as much as the one to the south, but we will continue to monitor that. That's where we sit there. 60-mile-an-hour winds and an inch diameter hail. I see that the Weather Service just posted an update too on this storm in Charles Mix County. So golf ball size hail and 70-mile-an-hour wind gusts, again moving east now at 40 miles per hour. And so that is a severe thunderstorm warning that remains in effect here for Charles Mix County in south central South Dakota and southeastern Gregory counties in South Dakota. So that's, again, pivoting back here to the west, and you could see this area all the way down into northern Nebraska. Very strong weather, too, all connecting into this area. And again, this is our Beersford radar, so we're kind of honing in now on the Sioux Falls area. You can see there's some thunder and lightning growing west of the city. At this point, no severe weather, but I am noticing lightning tracker beginning to show some strikes out here toward Emory, Salem. This has kind of popped up a little bit more. Let's put the radar back in motion. I want to watch that. So right there, it's just kind of filling in just a little bit more. So that's where we're at here as of 7:39. Again, the main cell there to the south, and obviously the lightning kind of covers things up, but there's a lot of that going on here tonight, Jay.
All right, and I was just kind of taking a peek at one of our live cameras here. This is Parker. You see the darker clouds off to the west, and that's what's coming in towards Sioux Falls in the I-29 corridor right now. And that is an area not warned at the present time. What do you show? Oh, you got Madison up there now, I take it.
Yep, that's Madison, kind of watching that. I also wanted to bring in Yankton. We've got a shot here that was kind of interesting down at the marina. And you can see the structure of that storm. Look at that. You've got all these towering cumulus clouds there in the background. I think it's pretty obvious to say that even based on what I'm seeing here, that there's probably a shelf cloud or something to that effect there right in the middle of your screen. So just kind of, I'm going to step in here to the green screen there, and you can see right in there. That's again looking to the west, northwest of Lewis and Clark Marina. And we're noticing, again, all of that storm structure out there in Bonham County. So that's just a visual. That's just kind of a sampling of what we're watching right now. But, again, I would say at this point, Jay, we're kind of making that switch over to these strong straight-line winds. And that's kind of the you know, as we piece all this together tonight, there's going to be a little bit of that handoff going on. So we've seen a decrease in tornado coverage. That's great news, but I think that's also symptomatic of the fact that it's making that transition too right now.
Yep, and that's the Madison. That's another camera at Lake Madison he's looking at right there. Here's the big picture. Everything moving and becoming a line, I guess you'd say, as it moves west-east through the southeastern portion of KELO. We're watching to see the way these storms interact, and you do see the yellow boxes. That's where severe thunderstorm warnings have been issued and updated, and the winds now becoming the issue is because we've lost our spin, our tornado potential in the past few minutes, but the straight line winds appear to be picking up. As BK was saying before, that area northwest of Yankton has been producing some winds on radar 70 miles an hour or better, so that is an indication of how strong the winds are getting, and they're coming into that plenty juicy hot air that we have, Sioux Falls and the eastern part of KELO. So that trend is going to be something we're going to have to be watching over the next few minutes as well, as the winds do appear to be taking over these storms. As expected, the winds going to become the big story, I guess, out of these, you might say. And in fact, I'll just zoom in a little bit here so you can see a little bit closer what's going on as they come towards Sioux Falls and southeastern South Dakota. The strongest winds still south of I-90, heading toward Scotland, Tyndall, those areas right now. And you can see everything moving to the east. We've also seen the storms, those two systems. They were two distinctly separate systems. They are now growing together. All the way from the Nebraska border to north of I-90 right now, up towards like Howard down to the Tyndall areas. Looks like it is forming one continuous blob, I guess you'd say, of storms, BK.
Yeah, very bunch of significant storm structure. And, you know, that area has been a source of a lot of severe weather tonight. These are some new pictures from the Bone Still area, and you can clearly see there that's what was being reported to law enforcement officials. And again, these are fresh pictures from YouShare at KELOland.com. But this is, again, a view from Bone Steel, South Dakota. And viewers sending these in on UShare tonight. So I just wanted to quickly mention that, as the history of these storms has been very significant this evening. We've had several tornado touchdowns out in that area. And again, at this point in the evening, we're kind of watching what happens next if we end up with strong winds. KELO, Trip area. Notice what's going on right now with the wind that we're monitoring on Doppler radar. Some of these little spots here that we can pick on. Again, these numbers are definitely high. They're, 65 to 75. They've been kind of hovering in there.
While you're there, BK, 72-mile-an-hour gust in Wagner.
Okay, so we do have some confirmation to some of those strong winds. And as I leave this view up here on the screen, I've got another source here I wanted to go into behind the scenes, so just kind of bear with me for just a moment, because looking at some of the conditions here for more wind tonight, we're going to be monitoring what we're getting for ground reports on this. I'm noticing right now, just within the last few minutes, I'm looking at a new observation here. So Scotland, temperature is now at 86 degrees in Scotland, and then on the back side of this, out toward Armour, they're at 78. They've got a north wind at 20, and then of course Wagner, as you mentioned too, has some strong winds. They've got a temperature now down to 67. So it goes from 67 in the storm, and then you got mid to upper 80s ahead of it, and the dew points are just tremendously high. They've been hovering in the low 80s all throughout Hutchinson County and Turner County and southward into Clay County as well. So again, just all the things that we're kind of watching behind the scenes. This is again a storm that looks to me like it's holding its own, and it's trying to move due east. There's other ones to the north. Thankfully, none of these are severe yet in the McCook County area, but they're definitely growing, so we're just keeping an eye on that. And then just to reiterate too, we've got a severe thunderstorm warning for Davison County and that area in effect until 8 p.m. this evening. So if you're in Davison County, Mitchell, it looks like it's moved through Mitchell, so Mitchell should be in the clear temporarily from that as that's moved on through. And the good news is that other storm has fully dissipated. Isn't that something, that big storm that was up here and originally we were concerned about that being more of a problem downstream, but it got into that area just southwest of Mitchell and now has been absorbed into the rest of that line. So I think it's safe to say, Jay, that this is it down here by Tripp and Tyndall. This will govern what happens this evening with the extent of the severe weather and what really happens. I do notice, and I'm starting to see this now too, this little inflow notch. Do you see that right there? And that's a classic signature. We've seen that many times over the years when these structures begin to do that. So that's another indicator that that's still growing. I would certainly keep a very close eye on what happens here in the next few minutes on that. If that starts to grow again, we'll get a new update, I'm sure, shortly.
Yeah, I would expect to see very strong winds in Scotland, like right now. Yeah,
Scotland is right in the thick of it. And again, if you're in Scotland, make sure you're in a place of safety, because you got at least 70-mile-an-hour winds kind of knocking in here, probably close to that range. That seems to be the going trend right now that we're observing. And I've got a couple other scans here. I was kind of looking a little bit at the second layer here of the Doppler radar scan. And again, that would definitely be the area where I would be most concerned right now, is just west of Scotland, this line. And there'll be some more subtle features that'll come back with that eventually as we hone in on all of this weather here tonight. Jay?
Yeah, the severe thunderstorm watch does include that area in pink that BK is just showing you on the radar there. But again, it has been extended, the watch, in effect till 10 o'clock for the South Dakota side of the border. Continues until 1 a.m. for our neighbors in Minnesota and in Iowa and in northeastern Nebraska. Again, very strong winds possible. We've been saying isolated gusts to 90 possible. That's in theory, but we have seen wind gusts in the upper 70s in portions of eastern South Dakota as this thing has been going on during the day today. Also, potential for more tornadoes possible, though. As we watch these storms develop, we do believe that it is changing from a tornado threat to a strong straight line wind event as these systems come together, and especially down around, I think it's safe to say, BK, the strongest part of that system right now is really right down around Scotland.
It is, yeah, there's no question about that. And that's where basically all this comes down to this evening is what starts happening in that area as it moves east and then eventually gets tossed into the rest of this area. Now, I see a brand new update here on the severe thunderstorm warning for this area near Mitchell. The Weather Service has now put out a brand new bulletin with this downstream. So let's get you caught up on that. And it looks like the rest of northern Hutchinson County has been put under a severe thunderstorm warning, as well as the rest of southern Hanson County and now a portion of Cook County. So again, that's with some strong damaging straight line winds here.
And leave it right there, BK. I have a report on that area. Mitchell, the Mesonet, that's a sensor, South Dakota State, reports thunderstorm wind gusts measured at 55. Also, Wagner did confirm that thunderstorm wind gust of 72. And so, yeah, the winds are on. Especially areas along and south of I-90 right now. Yeah, so winds, yep, we're just going to continue to follow that. It looks like, again, we've got a collection of severe thunderstorm warnings in this area. And at this point, they are reorganizing. But we're pretty confined, I would say, still on this Scotland issue. There's definitely wind coming in there, no question about that. That's got definitely more of a Boeing signature that is emerging there. And notice how it's moving to the east. It's just kind of barreling along there. And so, again, that gives us a little more of a short-term indicator. If you look at where that sits, compared to Sioux Falls, obviously that's to the southwest of Sioux Falls, but it would be moving more in an easterly direction. So, again, the news that we know at the top of the hour, or at least going into the top of the hour, is that this area on the southern flank is the worst of it. And everything to the north toward Interstate 90 is definitely of a concern. But at this present time, we've seen more 50 to 60 mile-an-hour winds, Jay. So I'm encouraged by that. The more of that, the better. That's way better than getting anything over that 70 to 80 mile-an-hour range. But obviously, the evening is still pretty young yet. We know that we've got a lot of real estate to go here to get these through KELO land. So obviously we'll be watching the latest minute-by-minute reports as we're coming in here closer to the top of the hour. I did want to mention, too, that a couple of new things coming out of Aberdeen. They have continued some of their flood statements. A lot of rain up here in the northeast, and it looks like Dual County, portion of Dual County is under a flood warning in effect until 10:45 tomorrow morning. And unfortunately, they're just getting hammered again with more rain. Here's a look at some of that. Again, this area, I'll clear the decks there. You can see north of Clear Lake. So we are not getting rain at the present time. It's not as strong, but it sure has been a really busy time the last couple of days here. Last night was really rough. Here's the 2-hour loop of the radar. You can see that storm that goes right through that same area, Castlewood to Clear Lake. But it's moving along. That's the good news. I think we're kind of settling down there. In Aberdeen, too, we're seeing some clearing. These counties in the northeast are looking a lot better, Jay. So that's some encouraging news to see that. At least you've gotten through the worst of it. Now we've got to tackle this issue in the southeast, and over the next hour or two, what goes on with those storm cells just to the northwest of Yankton. I don't know if you've got that live camera view back up again, but that view from the marina down in Yankton might be interesting to go back to once again here as we watch that. Yeah, let's have a look at that. We go out down to Yankton and pick it up and see what's going on down there. Of course, the business part of it is still mainly just to the north of the Yankton area, but this is a look from the marina down, or upriver, I guess you'd say, toward toward Pickstown. Here's the area north of the marina and moving toward the Yankton area itself. So pretty quiet at the present time. The stronger winds look to be north of there, but you can see the darker clouds off in the distance. There's kind of a line in your screen there. That's what's coming off of those thunderstorms off to the northwest from the Yankton area out toward Bottom County and points off to the west. So it is areas right now. So far, in the last few minutes, it looks like the business part of the storm system is we're getting south of I-90 and down near Scotland is kind of the area we're watching right now out of those thunderstorms as they move to the east. We do still have the thunderstorm warnings in those areas as the cells make their way to the east. And coming toward the Sioux Falls area, question is, will the storms come together in a strengthening fashion over Sioux Falls, or will they remain stronger to our south? And that's yet to be determined because the storms are still getting together as they make their way into the southeastern part of KELO. BK?
Yes, they are. And there's the view again, kind of watching the whole line there moving to the east. So again, to recap our story here as we close in on the 8 o'clock hour. Severe thunderstorm watch for possibility of more destructive winds tonight and all the hail and also the isolated tornado threat. And that does include pretty much everybody within southeast KELO. We are watching at this moment here. The good news is we do not have any tornado warnings at the moment, but we've been watching some very powerful winds developing within this cell in Bottom County. In particular, moving right through Scotland, that area is very active right now. We have some very strong straight line winds that are pushing to the east. And as that happens, we will be here to cover at least the latest details if any more threatening weather develops. There are severe thunderstorm warnings now in effect downstream from the Mitchell area. So you can see right there, that's a severe thunderstorm warning for Hanson County. Also severe thunderstorm warning for northeastern Hutchinson County and southern McCook counties. So some of that weather, again, not very far to the west of Sioux Falls. I will also note, Jay, that we've seen quite a development there north of Salem. And let me turn on, I'm going to go to this source on the Beersford radar. It looks to me like things are kind of just beginning to flare there. Do you see that new warning popping up too now for Turner County?
Yeah, everything's moving in an easterly direction, and that is the business end of the thing we were talking about down near Scotland right now. And in fact, let me pop my my source on here just a bit. So again, you see where there's that kind of feature there, the moon-shaped feature. Storms all moving to the east, so the anticipation is that those strong winds will be headed in the general direction of Beersford, give or take a few miles. So the warning goes all the way to the Parker area, areas just south of Parker, Hurley, Viaburg, Wakanda, Vollen, Gayville, Mayville area, may even clip the Yankton area. We're not seeing anything yet coming toward Yankton, or at least just looking at the live cam, we're not seeing anything ominous in that area. But if it continues to move in an easterly direction, and it should, those are the areas that would be impacted by that thing. And BK, if you wanted to keep an eye on that. The wind's about 60 miles an hour is what they're saying right now. But you can see there's definitely the light greens. That's looking at the winds inside the storm, moving kind of in an easterly direction, and about 60 mile an hour winds is what they're anticipating right there.
Right, yep, and you can see the high definition radar picture where it's just really a wall of some rain and wind in that. So that's where it stands right now. That certainly is a strong storm, and again, as it heads toward Menno and areas west of Mayfield, I would just watch that. It is probably safe to say 60 to 70 mile an hour winds within that storm. And as we bring in here our latest velocity, basically this is a product that looks more at the wind. And as we've been monitoring this, it was interesting when we were looking just a little while ago, Jay, you know, we had some bigger winds, I would say probably that came out of that area near Wagner, because I know that that was at least at 70 there. And then Now, as it kind of fans out to the east, it's a little more of a broader zone of wind, but I'm pleased to say, at least at this moment, it's holding its own, and we're not getting anything that's going off to the races. I don't see any damage that would be anywhere near 80 miles an hour, at least at this moment. So we'll just keep monitoring it, and that's what we know right now as those communities on Storm Tracker. Again, this is moving east at 45 miles per hour. So there's again the storm as we see it there west of all of it and moving into these areas of southeast South Dakota. So if you're in Yankton County, Clay County, a big chunk of Turner County, those are all severe thunderstorm warnings in effect for another hour until 9 o'clock tonight. Jay?
Yeah, I've got dueling storm tracks, Brian. I extended the views on my display here just to go on down the line a little bit more. So Yankton, if it does get the Yankton area, maybe 20 minutes out, but then continue to move to the east toward the Centerville area and Meckling, and that whole thing does look like it's moving straight in an easterly direction. The question for us is, what's going to happen to those storms northwest of Sioux Falls? What are they going to do? Are they going to organize? They're going to get stronger? They're going to get weaker? Or they're just going to leave this, the squall line down to the south toward the Yankton area be the main event? So that's something that will have to be answered here just within the next few minutes. And I think that we're able maybe to take a look at some of our live cam things and see what's going on there. And I'll kind of turn this over to you, BK.
Yeah, so this is picking up again Yankton. That's no question about that right there. You can see the shelf cloud. You can see the nasty looking layers there to that cloud to the northwest of Yankton right now. So that's indicative of some of the strong straight line winds that are occurring in that vicinity. Let me take you to downtown Sioux Falls. Okay, so we've been acknowledging some of the activity popping up northwest of the city. Right now, it's kind of a gray looking sky, not a lot of definition to that. And that's been kind of the typical view too from Parker over the last 45 minutes. We're kind of just showing just general clouds there with some structure maybe here to the west of Parker. Right in there, I can see just a little bit of a lowering, or at least a region where that's pulling some of the air into that thunderstorm as well to your west. And obviously, when you have a lot of thick humidity in the air, it's kind of hard to make out all of those features. Backside of the storm, this is back to Gregory, where earlier in the evening we were tracking a tornado on this camera. But at the moment, we're scanning the skies there to the south and east, and it's been a very active evening. Obviously, there have been tornadoes, several of those reported in this region. This is, again, a live view of some of the stronger weather that's going on. You can see some of the entrained channels of very heavy rain and some wind there probably just to the east of Gregory. So, again, we'll circle back around to Yankton. That's the most ominous of the bunch there. There's the Missouri River, and it's pretty clear to see what's going on there. You can see that structure on that storm, and again, that's indicative of all of this straight line damaging wind that can occur with these storms. So keep vigilant, keep an eye on this. We're here in the Storm Center. We're going to walk you through it as this activity continues to barrel off to the east, Jay, and it looks like the severe thunderstorm watch will continue for many of our counties downstream. Obviously, a big chunk of southwest Minnesota and northwestern Iowa as well.
Oh, sorry, I moved your display there. Yes, just keeping an eye on what's going on. The Weather Service, a hint on that Hanson, Hutchinson, McCook County thing. They just add an additional tag, if you will, to the warning saying tornado possible. And there might be a little bit of spin developing. And actually, you've got a better view of that than I do with the velocity on your display there.
Yeah, you're talking about
right.
Alexandria right there.
Right,
yeah.
That's the area we're talking about. So.
Yeah, and there's some evidence of a couple things in there that we would need to be watching. Some wind, too, that might be picking up maybe a little bit more on that cell. right there as it kind of plows to the southeast. Again, those colors, the green, we're kind of watching that. That gives us more of an indicator of where there could be some stronger winds. Let's do this one more time. Right there. Again, this is Alexandria. There's Emory. So this is a severe thunderstorm warning that's cascading down that direction right now. So far, it's been kind of holding in that 60-mile-an-hour range, but again, we could see more amplification to that. That's just something that we're kind of sitting here as of 8 o'clock and just watching all of that pretty carefully. Look how fast that's moved through Scotland. That's not taking very long. That's definitely accelerating, Jay, when it moves that quickly here in the last 10 minutes.
Scotland confirmed wind gust 60.
Okay, so right at 60. And that's a severe thunderstorm warning. So it looks like right now, pretty safe to say that this area near Menno. And let me go back to our Beersford radar scan just for the second here. I noticed another thing too, Jay, just a little bit of a hint here. I'm not going to necessarily call this out as anything major yet, but there is a little knob on the end of this near where Jamesville is, right on the James River. There's a little knob on that. We'll see. We were a little concerned about this tonight with some of these cells, if there would be any possible rotation on where these boundaries come out. And again, that's our live radar. So again, just kind of watching the edge of this storm line right now. There's Lesterville. So you're looking just to the north and northeast of Lesterville. There are some indicators in there too of this push of wind. It's been running at about 60, probably a little more than that at times, but you know, kind of catching that range and holding its own. And you know, every time we get a scan on the radar, I'm glad to say that it's not going higher than that yet. That's been the concern this evening, to see if these things would take off and be worse than that. But I kind of think right now that's sort of holding there, isn't it, Jay?
Yeah, it is. But definitely moving in an easterly direction, headed toward I-29 south of Sioux Falls. So we are going to be watching those storms. This is Yankton, still looking at kind of that shelf off in the distance. And that is some stronger winds, maybe coming toward areas, especially areas north of Yankton. But you can see, looking off the distance, what that looks like at the present time. So Yankton right now, still warm, still humid, but here comes that line of thunderstorms. Probably going to be changing things a bit as it comes on through. Here's a look at the big picture. Again, we are seeing those thunderstorms moving in an easterly, southeasterly direction. In McCook County, the southern part of Cook County, that's the county just west of the Sioux Falls area, under a severe thunderstorm warning. We're not seeing quite the organization out of that, at least not yet, that we are seeing out of that cell, which has come through Scotland with 60-mile-an-hour winds headed toward areas on I-29 south of the Sioux Falls area. If you're just joining us, we are watching those thunderstorms develop and move through KELO. We do have the severe thunderstorm watch now impact southwest Minnesota, northwest Iowa. That's in effect for them. Iowa, Minnesota, northeastern Nebraska till 1 a.m. For Sioux Falls and South Dakota, still looking toward the 10 o'clock hour for those storms to exit South Dakota. You can kind of see that on the big picture there. BK showing you it right there. Here's what that the watch box looks like. It does include most of the eastern part of KELO. Now, I should mention that they have been allowed the area out toward Pierre to expire. Also, northeastern South Dakota, the line has gone through there, so those counties have been cleared. So it's still now, it's the southeast one quarter of South Dakota in effect until 10 p.m. tonight, and plus adjoining areas of Minnesota, Iowa, and Nebraska will continue until about 1 o'clock before clearing those areas. So plenty to look at in what's going on here in the southeastern part of the KELO region. I'm just giving you a time lapse there to show you the evolution of this thing. That whole line of thunderstorms making its way west to the east, heading right on through southeastern South Dakota. Sioux Falls, we're still watching the storms come in from the northwest, and they'll be coming into the city. On the big picture, we see the wall of not the wall cloud, but the wall of perhaps wind coming into Yankton right now. You can see it from the marina looking to the northeast. And then as far as the Sioux Falls area is concerned, we're going to be watching those thunderstorms come in from the west as well. This is what it looks like, looking kind of west-northwest from downtown Sioux Falls. We're watching those storms come in, and you can see the lightning off the distance. I'll just turn it so we can see the lightning off to the northwest. Coming into Sioux Falls, what's to be determined is how strong the winds are in Sioux Falls itself, because this is that whole conglomeration of clouds and thunderstorms which is moving toward the Sioux Falls area from the northwest at the present time. So not a whole lot going on in Sioux Falls just yet. We'll have to see if something does develop as these storms continue to evolve as they come into Sioux Falls and the southeast. But the stronger winds, I think, are definitely going to be down toward areas, particularly from Yankton just to the north, as that line of thunderstorms with the strong winds makes its way toward Beersford. BK?
All right. Well, that's, again, looking at the whole progression of this line. Here's what we have. And just to kind of go back and bring in the bigger view, we've been watching this collection of thunderstorms. We see that some of these are producing now some strong damaging winds, straight line damaging winds. And the cell that's of the most particular concern is the one that's moving through Bonham County into Yankton County. Severe thunderstorm warnings have been extended well beyond that because it is beginning to pick up speed. It's moving to the east at 45 miles per hour. The other storm cells that have come out of Mitchell, they're severe, but they have not grown anymore. So it's good to see that. That's encouraging news. They're still strong and severe storms, but so far I wouldn't say we've got anything of immediate concern there near Mitchell, at least east, but it is still an area of concern that we're watching each and every segment. Jay?
Wind gusts 72 miles an hour in Scotland.
72 in Scotland. Okay, well that does make a lot of sense based on this whole progression there. And I will say that as this has pushed east, let me bring out this product for a moment. You know, it's just been watching, so 70 mile an hour winds. There's Scotland right there. Makes a lot of sense with what we've been tracking. Now, this right there, okay, so as I kind of bring up a couple features here. This little notch that you're seeing right near Maxwell Colony, there's Menno. That would be an area where the wind is basically coming into the storm from this direction. So pulling in, this part is bulging out. So we will now just go ahead and say up to 70 mile an hour winds with that. I've got a brand new update here on the wind probe here as we look at the Doppler radar estimates. And I will tell you that that has gone up a little bit now. I think we've got couple little spots in there. They're back up to 73. So, you know, kind of holding its own. So definitely there's reason to think of destructive winds in there. And again, that is basically, if you're in Menno, that's about 5 miles southeast of town. Okay, so that's a large severe thunderstorm warning. Let me do another thing here. I think this might be of helpful interest to us as we're looking at what this looks like. So I'm just going to basically just eyeball that right through Scotland. Looks like it's taking a direct path to the east. So the worst part of this severe thunderstorm, if we really want to get details there, and I'm actually going to bring the storm tracker out live on this. I'm going to draw it from the initial line, okay, and then we're going to pull out here. We're going to move this here. We're going to move it at least into the 45 to 50 mile an hour range because it's picking up some speed. So, you know, Viborg, it's 8:11 right now, and that gets into town by 8:30, and it's trucking. It's moving along pretty quickly. So that's a little bit of a concern. There's also some wind on the back side of this too, Jay, as I've been noticing, you know, some of the wind that, you know, sometimes in a case like this, you can get that initial burst of wind, but you can also ramp up the wind on more of the backside. We saw this back in 2022. I remember what we called the green derecho. Do you remember that? When
yes.
That wind came up in Sioux Falls, and we actually had the first round came through, and then the second was a little more pronounced. So we'll see if that starts to materialize. That's not a guarantee, but I'm just saying we're kind of thinking about what we're observing here as of the time right now.
Behind those lines, there's usually two different mechanisms. One we call a wake load. The other is a rear inflow jet. So kind of mechanically a little bit different, but the end result is the same. Strong winds well behind the line of thunderstorms, which is kind of where we expect to see the strongest wind gusts, is right on the leading edge of that thing, the kind of the leading edge of the bow, if you will. Now here's a look at what's going on as far as what's been going on during the afternoon. We have those thunderstorms are coming into the southeastern part of KELO. As we've been saying, it does look like the strongest part of that storm system is going to be the stronger winds pushing through areas, Yankton County, up toward the southern half of Turner County, across to I-29 right now. The Sioux Falls area, we have a thunderstorm coming in right now. It's looking pretty disorganized. We're not seeing anything real strong at the present time. We'll see if something happens in the next few minutes, but we're not seeing nearly the organization in Sioux Falls as we are seeing south of the city right now with that line of thunderstorms as it works its way toward the I-29 corridor. Again, the latest report we had was those strong winds out of Scotland behind that line of thunderstorms. That's where we had the 72-mile-an-hour gust, and that's what's going on right now. So those are the areas we are going to be watching. Let's take a look at our live cam if we can. I've been keeping an eye on what's going on in Sioux Falls. You can kind of see that's areas north of the city. There has been some thunder and lightning, but again, not nearly the organization that we've seen further down to the south. In fact, let me go down to the south. We've been keeping an eye on what's going on down at Lewis and Clark Marina. That's near the Yankton area, of course. And we've been seeing this big wall of wind type setup. There's lots of lightning down there as well. The strongest winds look like they're kind of going to be hanging north of Yankton. Though as you look at the boat sails there, or the masts, I should say, you are seeing some movement there. So there's certainly some wind coming out of that storm system as the system passes to the north of the Yankton area right now. Lots of lightning. Winds are picking up right now. You can see a bit of wave there in the marina itself. So they are getting some wind. There's no doubt about it. That's the same part of that complex that went through with the 72-mile-an-hour gust up towards Scotland. This is the southern end of that particular line of thunderstorms. And there it is right now going through the marina at the present time. So a bit of wind, but again, the strongest stuff is going to be well to the north, up toward, well, headed in the general direction, if you will, from Scotland to Beersford. Here is downtown Sioux Falls. We just have some thunderstorms coming in from the northwest, kind of out of this area. Right now, they are not looking very strong. They are not well organized, but let's see what happens in the next few minutes, because the atmosphere still got plenty of juice, plenty of energy in there. So that's something we have to be keeping an eye on over the next few minutes. That's what it looks like there on the display out of our live cam. BK, are you seeing anything there? I see you're looking again at the velocities being picked up by radar, which is our best way to find out how fast the wind speeds are in those areas.
In this area that we've been targeting there, just to the west of Bridgewater, the Emory area, there's definitely some wind in there. I noticed too that the structure there over Spencer, there's definitely a larger sheet of really heavy rain that's developing in this storm cell. I'd be kind of curious to see what continues to kind of evolve out of this bottom end of that storm. It's an interesting structure. It looks like we've got probably wind gusts to 60. It's been heading out of Alexandria down to Emory and then heading toward Bridgewater. So again, that's one area of concern right now that we are currently monitoring. And then as we zoom out and go back down to this, it's pretty clear to me, Jay, that this is definitely punching out, you know, I probably would say it's bowing, or at least having that signature of that right about midway. There's Mayfield. So we're looking due north of Yankton right now. There's Utica. And again, this is kind of barreling east. So we're kind of looking downstream toward Vi Heiberg and also Irene on this. We've been doing several storm tracks on it, and it definitely has a history of producing 70-mile-an-hour winds. I know the Scotland update is coming in now, too, as we monitor that. And I'm going to go back to our Beersford radar coverage, so you can see that here as of 17 minutes after the hour. And that storm, obviously, storm warnings have been posted in advance of that, all the way through Turner County. In fact, the warning box also goes up to Lenox and down to Beersford and all the way down to Vermilion. So it's kind of a large, severe thunderstorm warning that's in effect until 9 o'clock. I know some of you in these counties, you're not in the weather yet, but this is your heads up that is heading your direction. And there's, over the last hour, look how fast that's moved here. An hour ago, when we look back at 718, this was way out in Charles Mix County, and now all the way east, and it's up Highway 81, and it's moving east pretty quickly there. So the latest probe here, if you're curious about the wind estimates, we've got a new scan here, and it looks like right now we are still indicating winds that are gusting in the 70-mile-an-hour range. I would say pretty close to that, all the way up and down this line. So that's what we need to be aware of tonight, is that we're going to deal with these strong, damaging wind scenarios, and that's the strongest of the bunch. The rest of this here west of Sioux Falls, as Jay just mentioned, we've got some storms that are developing here, but they are currently, at least part of that is just thunderstorms at this point. So we'll carefully monitor that if that changes. I'll put on the hail tracker here too for a moment. This is some good news. You know, earlier in the evening we had talked about tennis ball and baseball size hail. We haven't been mentioning that as much lately, so we've been able to kind of, you know, put that aside. I'm glad to report that. I know many of you watching us tonight are glad to hear anything good coming out, but obviously we know how storms can change, so we're just going to keep monitoring it.
Yeah, and a couple of things we're going to be watching. You notice that storms, it was an area that wasn't very organized. Looks like the storm coming into Sioux Falls is at least organized for the point of rainfall right now. You can see that the way that whole thing is filled in and formed one whole cluster, I guess you will, of storms. So Sioux Falls area, we're going to be getting some rain, if nothing else, here within the next few minutes. Here's the way it looks on KELO, on our live network, on our live cam network, coming into the city from the northwest. Looks like we got some rain. It could be some decent rain coming in as well. I wanted to go back down to the Yankton area and see if we can see any more wind going on there. Again, the strongest of the winds look like they're going to be just north of the Yankton area itself, but well, we do see some thunder and lightning. In fact, it's not even as breezy as it was before down there. So most of the storms are north of the Yankton area. That's what it looks like in the marina itself. But again, Sioux Falls area, we're going to be watching. Well, could be some decent rain coming into the city in the next few minutes. Right now, the system is not that organized in terms of very strong winds, and I think maybe you can see that on your velocity data there.
Yeah, and I'm going to add to the conversation here, Jay. I just got a new update from the folks down in Norman at the Storm Prediction Center, and they put out a specific discussion about all of this going on west of Sioux Falls. And, you know, at this point in the evening, when we're looking at still these clusters of storms, so far, they have not organized to the point where they've got basically a sustaining mechanism, what we call a cold pool, if you will, where basically that downdraft is getting more organized and then can support those widespread damaging winds. That's good news. The problem is their statement as of 10 minutes ago still calls for that distinct possibility, and we can't ignore that. We've got all these ingredients still. The amount of available energy for these storms is still sky high, and everything's laid out. So What we can do at this moment is we can watch it. We're basically keeping a close eye on anything that changes, but I would suspect that this one down here in Yankton County, that's the one that's most likely, if we're going to start getting any more direction in that way, that one would be the first one to do it. But so far, I haven't seen anything more than 70 on the wind in the last few scans.
And there's one other thing to add about what our friends in Norman were saying, and that is that, if anything, the conditions are more favorable for severe thunderstorms in Minnesota, Iowa, and northeastern Nebraska. So as our storms move into those areas, you folks in southwest Minnesota, northwest Iowa, not done by any stretch of the imagination, because those thunderstorms are moving toward you, and you have some pretty significant conditions for thunderstorms to redevelop in your areas here in the next few hours. Are you seeing any stronger winds now, BK, on the radar?
Yeah, just got a little bit more of a gust there. It looks like some of those winds north of Mayfield are probably still above 70. So that's a lot of wind. That's still enough to be very powerful and damaging winds. If you are in Irene, this is knocking on your door right now, coming in, and we're looking here into southwestern Turner County. That's basically an area that definitely is of concern right now, as I would estimate, based on what we're seeing here, it's booking along there at a pretty quick pace here, at least at 45 miles per hour. I think it would be wise right now to bring up our live storm tracker just to give another update here on all of this as it's coming in west of Sioux Falls. So this segment of the storm, I'm going to storm track first. And again, this takes us out. I'm going to put that at least at 50 miles per hour. So it's been pretty consistent. I'm bringing Viborg in here within about 8:30, a little bit after that. Seems like a very reasonable bet. And you're pretty close to some of the strong winds. Obviously, you got Vollen here at 8:30 or so. And again, looking down the line, even toward Canton and Lenox, some of these features can move through. There's a little bit of a break in between there, north of Freeman. And then you got that second cell up toward Bridgewater. That severe thunderstorm warning is in effect for another 6 minutes. We'll see what that one does as it moves to the east as well. And I'm just scouring through a couple new data points here, so just kind of bear with me on that. Heavy rainmaker northwest of Sioux Falls. There's Salem and Emory. No question about that. But there's no warning on any of that at the present moment. So I like to encourage that, yeah, that's good news. If we can find a couple things here, it's been a rough night of severe weather, but at the present moment, that's where we stand. So I'll be curious too, Jay, as we get closer to sunset, and as you just mentioned, the behavior of these storms as we kind of go toward the nighttime hours, that can also be a point of interest here. We thought that within this 8 o'clock hour, we'd see more evidence of that. So let's see what happens in the next half hour.
Yeah, we will do that. During the day today, we've been talking about that 8 to 9 o'clock hour for thunderstorms to come to the Sioux Falls area. It's about 8:30, and we do see on KELO Live Doppler the area in red just coming in from the northwest. So at least it looks like some heavy rain potential as the storm comes in from the northwest, and that's what it looks like on radar. The strongest winds continue down to the south toward Yankton. I think BK is looking at the Sioux Falls live cam right now. So you see some thunder and lightning off to the northwest. The question is, will we be seeing the strong winds that have accompanied previous storms here this evening in the eastern part of the KELO region? So we do have severe thunderstorms. The main storm, though, thunderstorm is down to the south. Areas just north of the Yankton area. In fact, we can see from the Marina cam as well right now the passage of that system. Looking off toward Bonham County, they're looking north of the Marina right now, north of the Yankton area.
Yeah, very turbulent looking sky, isn't it, this evening? That is, again, a live view from Yankton, and this area into Yankton County is under a severe thunderstorm warning. Lots of frequent lightning with this storm cell, and so I think that does lend more evidence to what we've been talking about here this evening in that area. So we're going to continue to pivot to some of these cameras that are more over the southeast. I want to bring up for a moment here. That Parker camera, let me go down the list here. We'll bring that one in here too. And we're getting some rains. We've got a lot of lightning here. I'm going to go back and look to the north. So there's the downtown area in Parker. You can see that, and obviously the darkening skies here tonight as these severe thunderstorms are moving through portions of Turner County. So it's going to be harder too to see a lot of definition. There's just a lot of humidity, a lot of things now that kind of obscure our vision there a little bit more this evening there. So a couple of observations. We'll also have our 41st Street camera ready to go. You can see some of the wet pavement there, and of course as the storms move east, we'll have to bring in more of our cameras too here this evening as this all unfolds. You're watching live coverage of severe weather. Again, the top story here as of 8:30, we're watching a line of severe weather with some damaging winds moving in, coming in from southwest of Sioux Falls. We've had reports of 70-mile-an-hour winds around Scotland this evening. And also, as we bring up the live radar view there, and Jay is manning things here on that end of the studio here this evening, it looks like severe thunderstorm warnings have been expanded. Turner County, western Lincoln County now, all the way to Lenox, and down all the way to the Missouri rivers. So that's the corridor of concern right now as it stands as of 8:30, Jay.
All right, looks like a little rain going on down. Looks like 41st Street getting a little light rain right now in Sioux Falls. But we're looking at the area in red, which is Sioux Falls to the west, out toward the western part of Minnehaha County and McCook County. The areas in red, that's where we could be seeing some heavy rainfall right now. And that is eventually what's going to happen. It looks like those two cells, those two areas of thunderstorms, looks like they are going to merge. And it looks like it's going to be kind of just south of the Sioux Falls area is where that is going to happen. So that's going to disrupt the wind field, I'm sure, down toward the south. Right now, we're not seeing, I don't think we're seeing nearly the winds coming out of the thing. In fact, let me see what I can find here. I think that the winds are not nearly as strong now as they were before down toward well, Mayfield, yeah, I guess around the Irene area. Looks like we still could be seeing some stronger storms there right now. I mean, some stronger winds right now. In fact, let me take a look and see what we got here. Winds Mayfield, about 60 miles an hour. 46 miles an hour. So in that, yeah, it's a strong wind. It's not as strong as it was before. Again, those are areas south of Parker. And now we do have a new severe thunderstorm warning, and this one looks like does include the Sioux Falls area itself. In fact, I'll just toss it right back over to you, BK. It goes all the way to Sioux Falls, and that is a severe thunderstorm warning now coming into the Sioux Falls area from the northwest. That is the storm cell we've been watching and seeing how it's going to develop and come toward us. And now we do have the severe thunderstorm warning as that storm system comes in. Latest information then does include Hanson, Hutchinson, Lincoln, McCook, Minnehaha, and Turner counties. And that is in effect until the 9:15 hour, so Sioux Falls involved in that. But in addition to that, we now have some reports in Dante, which is out toward Charles Mix County, wind gusts to 60 miles an hour. Scotland had a thunderstorm wind gust of 63 miles an hour. Lesterville, which is north of Yankton in Yankton County, reporting a 60-mile-an-hour wind. So we do still have some decent winds out there, and that is a storm system that is going through the southern part of areas south of Sioux Falls, and now we got the other system coming in from the northwest, and maybe it looks like a 60-mile-an-hour wind type thing, or do we have some stronger winds right now?
Well, I just wanted to flag this, Jay. This warning that is in Minnehaha County. This is now a new scan on Doppler looking at Humboldt. And we're indicating here some of those winds are picking up over 60 in that area. I'm just kind of sampling through this a little bit. Again, these are some sample numbers in there, but that's a suspect area that looks stronger, and that's come up pretty quickly.
Come up pretty significantly in the past few minutes.
It has. So, you know, that's why the Weather Service put out that warning box now for Sioux Falls. So here's the deal. Let's do this so we get everybody on the same page here. What's going on? We've got a thunderstorm that is intensifying west of Sioux Falls in the last 10 minutes. So Hartford to Humboldt, that seems to be growing We'll see if it holds together, but it is likely to come into parts of Sioux Falls based on that projection right now. Again, that's our Beersford radar scan. It's kind of a conglomerate. There's just kind of a collection of storms out here. So I'm still of the opinion that this is not as organized, but you can still entrain some downburst type winds in here, and that might be one example. There's a lot of rain too. You go west of Hartford all the way back to Bridgewater. Our hail tracker is not overly concerned at the present time, but I see on our live cam that lightning outside is really picking up here from our vantage point looking to the west. So
yeah, we're going to get heavy rain if nothing else.
Yep, and that definitely makes obviously for another complication. So let's do we've got to do a storm tracker. Okay, so I want to bring that up right now, and we're bringing this up from the edge of this area, Lyons, Hartford. I'm going to move this east. We're going to push this along here a little bit faster, 35 to 40. Okay, so it just gives you kind of a ballpark there. Sioux Falls, we're already starting to get some rain, but we're going to see more here through 841. And some of those stronger winds out there through Lake Lorraine, let's keep an eye on that. The west side of Sioux Falls will have some tendency to get some of those stronger winds if that little punch holds together. Hartford right now, that's getting stronger. And Jay, one thing I want to add here into that, yeah, we're now getting a couple spots there where that's showing, and that's actually a pretty low level scan.
Yeah, that's the radar is really low to the ground, so I would expect that we're going to see some of those very strong winds getting down to the surface.
Yeah, yeah. So that to me tells me Hartford is right now coming in. That's a quick, fast-moving development. That's changed here in the last few minutes. So that's why we really want to, and let me see if we can do this for the moment. I just want to go back. There's 816, so there's Montrose, Humboldt, Hartford. Look at the strength of that. See how that's developing?
That really strengthened fast.
That's within 20 minutes. It's gone from that to this. And again, we're just scanning this live. So Hartford, it's coming in. There's definitely a channel of wind that we're probing here. I'll do another scan on this. I'll be curious to see what numbers I can catch. There's one near 80. You hear thunder? Now the thunder here at the studios in downtown too. So storm is picking up. Okay, folks, this is Minnehaha County. We're looking at a severe thunderstorm warning, developing wind. Minute by minute, we're kind of following this. Let me go back to our conventional look at the radar. You can see it's kind of a general area of thunderstorms. A lot of cloud-to-ground lightning, a lot of electrical activity with all of that within this area. Canastota, Montrose, Humboldt, Hartford. So again, I would probably say still organizing, but there's definitely a pocket of some wind in there that's making us a little more concerned. Even, Jay, looking at that, it's an interesting signature, isn't it? Looking at how these winds are behaving around Hartford right now. There's definitely some wind coming in out of the west-northwest. And then you got an inflow coming in out of Sioux Falls. Do we have our live camera shot just looking west of the city?
Yep.
I know you've got our downtown camera.
I'm gonna move things just a little bit to the west, but yeah, everything's coming in from the west, and lots of thunder and lots of lightning there. So not seeing too much in the way of wind right now. That's what I'm kind of looking for. So we haven't had the winds. They have not reached here yet, at least not downtown. But lots of thunder and lots of lightning. And this is, going back, what, 2 hours, 3 hours? We're talking about this storm. This is that original storm from up in Heidenhain County, isn't it?
Yeah, part of that. Yeah, it is. It kind of did a few twists and turns and moved around. But again, just to recap where we're at right now, I want to go back to where we're at on our KELO storm tracker. Okay, this is the area of concern, Hartford right now, and this is barreling in. And I'm going to say right now, Jay, there's pretty strong evidence that this is pushing right now in the western side of Sioux Falls. We're picking up some strong winds. So be in your place of safety. The warning actually cuts off on I-29. on the west side of Sioux Falls. But you look at the data would suggest that some of these spots here, again, there's another new scan of 70, 75. We don't have a confirmed report of that yet, but I wouldn't be too surprised if we got some pretty strong winds, at the very least over 60 in this area near Hartford. But when we see something that low to the ground like that, that's pretty likely that that's going to be coming back. And yeah, there's another big one there. There's definitely some wind in there. And again, this is just a slight delay there, but it is indicating where 70 to 80 mile an hour winds may be emerging within that cloud. And I would caution you that that's a changing scenario. That's really ramped up. When the warning came out, it was actually looked like that right here. So that was 8:30. And now it's grown. I mean, now it's 8:37. So that's our concern, moving right into the city of Sioux Falls. Some very strong straight line damaging winds are emerging. So please take shelter immediately with the warning for western Minnehaha County. Other thunderstorms are back here towards Salem. That's also a severe thunderstorm warning that is currently in effect. And we've got other storms. We need to circle back around here to the Viborg area. These storms are still strong. You know, down near Springfield again has flared back up too. That's another severe thunderstorm warning down in Bonham County. Southern parts of Bonham County now under a warning. So that's trucking along kind of to the east-northeast. So it's been an interesting evening to see which storms are going to behave in certain ways, and we see one storm taking off and then another one. So again, I would say I'd kind of hone in on this Hartford thing right now. That's the biggest thing that I'm seeing on the Doppler radar scans.
Yeah, and for what it's worth, the Weather Prediction Center says Sioux Falls and southeastern KELO also at a slight risk for excessive rainfall, and that might be what we see here in the next few minutes in addition to those winds you're talking about. Here is a look at, I've got kind of the two thunderstorms which have basically come together now. They have connected. The one down to the south, that's the one with the stronger winds. That's where we had the 70-mile-an-hour winds in Scotland. And then the one that came in from the northwest, that's the one that goes all the way back to Hyde and Han County earlier this evening. It has slipped to the southeast. It's followed I-90. And now the two storms have basically formed one big complex of storms, what we have here in the southeastern part of KELO. So we have areas of heavy rain, a lot of rainfall, and in a couple of areas, and BK's been showing you the two areas, that's where we have the potential strong winds. And in this case, the bright greens is what we're looking at, and we just got a new volume scan in there. And it looks like, as you said, the storms coming into Sioux Falls from the northwest, those might actually have stronger winds right now. Down to the south, the winds are kind of moving parallel to the radar, so I wouldn't expect those to have as much of a signature, but still I'm sure we do have some pretty good winds. Viborg, Irene, over toward the Centerville area, the greens on your display. Is that the way you're seeing it, BK, as well?
Yeah, I'm just honing in on Hartford again, though. I got to go back to this. Now I'm seeing an 84-mile-an-hour wind gust.
Oh, that bright area, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
You're seeing that right on the interstate.
Yeah.
So there's definitely wind going on here. Hartford, and we know that this is coming in on the west side of Sioux Falls, this little channel. Do you see this little feature right here? It's kind of just pushing in. There's Ellis. Okay, so that's TLS Road right there. And that's where that's coming in on the west side of Sioux Falls. So again, there seems to be reasonable evidence to support some strong winds. I don't have any confirmed reports that strong.
I've not seen any reports from the ground, although we could certainly expect to see maybe something coming out of those. But I'm just kind of looking at the live cam here, looking to the southwest. Just thunder, lightning, not even much wind in the Sioux Falls area, at least not yet. You can see, generally look at those trees down in the foreground, and I'm not seeing a whole lot of movement there. Let me go down to 41st Street and see what the rains look like down there. It's not real heavy rain. It's raining steady. You can see the traffic moving there on 41st Street. So it's...
oh, Jay,
yes.
I just see a gust in Hartford to 77. On a personal weather station.
Okay, so we do have that strong wind just west of the Sioux Falls area.
Yep, that is the real deal. So Just letting you know, yeah, I'm going to scour a couple more of these, but I just see that. That's in Hartford, 77 mile an hour wind. I've got another one here I'm looking at. There's another one at 77. Yeah, so we've got pretty close to 80 mile an hour winds moving through Hartford right now. So this is breaking weather. I think in the west side of Sioux Falls, I would brace for some of this. It'll be, again, I think right now in the next few minutes, we've got to get ready to go. I think it's going to be shortly that this warning will be expanded farther east to include the rest of the city of Sioux Falls. And
I should mention, the Weather Service now saying that they've updated that warning to 70 miles an hour now is what the warning statement says out of that storm that we're looking right there. Right, Hartford down to the southeast. So now 70 mile an hour winds expected out of that, and that's coming right through the western part into the central part of Minnehaha County. Not to the Sioux Falls area just yet, and we can see that using our live cam. We can see that we don't have anything going on as far as winds right now. Looks like the rain is coming down pretty decently down on 41st Street. Hasn't flooded the banks like it did last week, but in any event, we do have some pretty good rain going on there. Certainly lots of thunder and lightning, and I'm going to the top view here, and yeah, still not seeing anything as far as wind, but on radar, we would expect that to be the case because the stronger wind was still further to the west out near Hartford.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm not seeing anything, BK, not yet.
Okay, so visually we can't see it yet, but it is there on, this is again looking at just a brand new scan. Just came in about 10 seconds ago. Okay, so northwest Sioux Falls, this is where we're looking. Here is the airport right there. Okay, so this wind right now is moving along Interstate 90. This is 70 mile an hour winds. We've seen personal weather stations coming in some data as high as almost 80 miles per hour. Let's measure this again, and with this quick movement here, it's moving into the northwest side of the city. So we need to be in a place of shelter because that kind of wind is going to pick things up, blow it around. That's a destructive wind within that cell. Let me bring up this view. I want to go actually to, well, a couple of things here. Let's bring in the Beersford radar scan. So again, this tells you where that fine line of strong winds is located right at this moment. See, it's coming into the west side of Sioux Falls on Sertoma Avenue, right there. This is, again, wind that extends to the north of 41st Street, and again, the farther north we go up toward the interstate is where that is very significant coming out of the Hartford area. So that whole northwestern section of Sioux Falls, very dangerous storm right now moving through, and as we watch this live, again, this is going to continue to push off to the east. I would expect that much of the city of Sioux Falls is going to continue to experience that. We're monitoring closely on our live cams as when that wind hits. I would say right now all these western neighborhoods of Sioux Falls, west of Interstate 29, it is moving in right now as we speak. And every Doppler scan we get, again, we're closely monitoring all of this wind that's managed to kind of burst out of that storm. It's kind of a small pocket, but it's pretty intense here. And even some winds up through Crooks and Lyons are pretty strong, but that's definitely the biggest of the bunch. Things down toward Viborg have kind of broken up maybe a little bit, so that's why our attention is kind of really honed in on the western side of Sioux Falls, Jay. And just if you're just tuning on the TV right now, wondering what's going on, again, we've had some reports near 80 miles per hour on winds near the Hartford area, and you're watching that live camera here, Jay.
Yeah, have a look. I've got the live cam from downtown pointed out to the west, seeing lots of thunder, lots of lightning, and seeing lots of rain, hearing rain in downtown Sioux Falls here. I'm still watching off in the distance because, as you said, out toward the T. Ellis Road on radar is telling us that we could have some very strong winds coming in there from that storm system out in Hartford. So that's where we're going to be watching to see if those very strong winds come into the Sioux Falls area. Winds 70 miles an hour possible because, as BK was saying, at the cloud level on the velocity radar, the radar velocity product, which just means looking at the winds within the clouds, we're seeing 70-mile-an-hour winds. So it is very possible we could see seeing some of those here in Sioux Falls coming in the western edge of the city. Rain getting heavier over downtown Sioux Falls. We expect to see, we're going to get some heavy rain out of this as well. Hopefully no hail. We're not seeing very much in the way of hail indications at the present time.
Hail is pretty minimal there, Jay.
Right. And we wouldn't expect it really the way the profile is, the atmosphere. But I think we're going to be seeing some strong winds out to the west. That's kind of what I'm watching right now. And
here goes the new warning. Did you see that?
No, go ahead and talk about that.
Yeah, so the rest of Minnehaha and Lincoln counties under a severe thunderstorm warning now. This is in effect until 9:30. 70-mile-an-hour winds up to penny-size hail, so that is included, but that's a lesser concern. But destructive winds 70 miles per hour. Damage is likely to mobile homes, roofs, and outbuildings. This storm is moving east at 40 miles per hour. So I'm going to do a storm tracker again as we're watching this through Midtown Sioux Falls right now. As it continues, I'm going to bring out the whole line here. So again, moving to the east and maybe a little to the southeast near 40. That would put the storm again through Brandon through 8:55. Moving east, Worthing through about 8:59. There's Harrisburg also at 8:59. So just in the next few minutes, again, the rain has already started. The winds are coming. Let's check out the newest view here on radar. And again, the winds are basically coming in the west side of Sioux Falls. This is kind of that channel, that narrow corridor where these winds, we've been kind of concerned about this the last few minutes, and I'm still seeing evidence of that coming right there. There's Ellis Corner. It's just on the northwest side of the city and moving in. So again, these are already, these are issues that are moving all the way to Interstate 29 because there's just a slight, when it's moving that fast, you could assume that it's bumped up maybe just a little bit to the east. Let's go to our live Doppler radar scan. I want to show that too. I think that's doing a very good job of picking up on that full line moving right now into Midtown Sioux Falls. And then the whole thing connects down toward Chancellor and Hurley. And that's really filled in, Jay, too.
Yeah, can you, let's take a look at our live cam down on 41st Street. And we mentioned we got winds coming in. There they are. Because these are pretty strong winds, the trees blowing there. You can see the way the sheets of rain are getting blown around. You can see the rain has picked up as well. So here it comes. The winds are coming into the city right now, along with the very heavy rainfall. That's what it looks like on the ground. Again, this is 41st Street in the southern part of Sioux Falls. The stronger winds coming in from the west, and so we're already starting to see that right now. Hasn't quite hit downtown yet, but certainly the southern part of the city, we have those two things going on. And this is the area of red on KELO Live Doppler. That's what's coming in from the west. That's your heavy rainfall. And Brian has been looking at what's going on for the winds inside the cloud cover, and that's what we're seeing on the screen right there. And where are you getting some maxes? Now, we're not going to be seeing as much real close to downtown Sioux Falls. We're looking at right now the Weather Service radar out at the airport, and it can't see straight up. So that explains a little bit of hole you have there on the screen.
Yeah, and if we can go to, this other source here. I want to bring this up now. Look at what's going on over Sioux Falls. This is the wind that's pushing this part of the storm this way. But if you look over the city of Sioux Falls, you can see how this is actually just kind of swirling and developing around because some of these cells out of Schindler and on the east side are moving from south to north. So it kind of appears to me like this is kind of getting its act together right over the city. So be alert to changing weather quickly. Embedded 70-mile-an-hour wind gusts are coming through. This is a storm line that extends all the way north of the interstate, clear up past Crooks, and it goes all the way down to the Chancellor area. Again, there's two warning boxes here. You've got one pre-existing warning out near Humboldt, but really the worst of the wind now has moved east. And then everything downstream here into northwest Iowa, including Lyon County now, severe thunderstorm warning in effect. Also for Rock County, Minnesota, clear over to Laverne now is put into the warning box as well. So again, it's very strong winds that are beginning to push through. I'm going to bring out our view just for a moment.
Can I take over just for a second,
You bet.
BK? I want to show you the difference of two live cams. This is what it looks like right now downtown Sioux Falls. This is what it looks like down on 41st Street. Much stronger winds. The winds are stronger now than they were a couple of seconds ago. So the strong winds have hit the southern part of the city, not so much though downtown. So this is the narrow area, very strong winds again. Still to the south and southwest of downtown Sioux Falls. We're getting the thunder and lightning, but not the strong winds like we're seeing down to, like we're seeing out to the west, BK.
Yeah, and I would still argue that probably the worst of the wind is in the northwest side of the city. We're still getting some of these scans reporting here up around Ellis Corner. Let me bring up just some raw data for you here as we watch that, and it's still in that 70 mile an hour range. So again, that's kind of the core of this. It's not widespread. It doesn't look like that necessarily, but it's just been these tight spots where this wind has really popped up here in a couple of areas. And again, we were able to see that with one of the personal weather stations we were kind of monitoring out near Hartford that peaked there well over 70. Look at all that rain too. It's a real hefty line of thunderstorms. It goes all the way back to Monroe, so it'll be easy to see some more ponding of water. And this, I can see that camera on 41st Street, Jay.
Yeah, there
That's
we go.
really picking up, isn't it?
The winds blowing the trees on the left-hand side. We kind of use that shot to estimate our wind speeds actually, because we have that patch of trees right off of the left-hand side of your screen. But you can also see the sheets of rain being blown around by those very strong winds. So strong winds in the southern part of the city and the western part of the city, actually the Empire Mall, kind of the southwest part of Sioux Falls. Downtown Sioux Falls, we haven't seen anything like that wind, and the rain hasn't even been as heavy yet, but it's maybe just a matter of time. Yeah, you can see, boy, we're even starting to lose our visibility a little bit. That's how thick the rain and the winds are down on 41st Street. So it is not pleasant out there right now. Even the traffic, I don't know, we don't see many cars on the streets right now. That's 41st Street. It's usually pretty busy this time of day, and not many folks venturing out in this, at least not at the present time.
No, not at all. And that's a very challenging condition. I wanted to go back to a couple things I'm monitoring down around Davis. There's definitely a strong line of storms here. It looks like there is some interesting features there. I wouldn't call that out as necessarily anything real imminent, but certainly there's some wind that's kind of twisting there a little bit. There's a little convergence. So that whole area is under a severe thunderstorm warning. I want to bring that up to speed because they've extended the warnings out to Sioux Center and also into Plymouth County, Iowa. That's an extension off of what's been going on. I'm going to basically read you, give you the latest information on that. Again, with the reports here. Oh, and just got a 66 mile an hour wind gust out of Irene.
Yeah, and have a look at the live camera there. The winds have now picked up in downtown Sioux Falls. Our Skycam fighting to stay focused on. This is right in downtown Sioux Falls, looking toward Minnesota Avenue. So now the winds have arrived in downtown Sioux Falls, so the whole city now in that severe thunderstorm warning, and as you'd expect, the strong winds enduring the heavy rain over the city right now.
Yeah, so please be in your safe place, the shelter here, as we're dealing with strong winds now moving into and through the city of Sioux Falls. This has been occurring here, and obviously we've been talking about this very much here in the last 20 minutes to half an hour as this situation's emerged. There's a look at Sioux Falls again, right in the thick of it right now with this storm line. And there again is that Beersford radar. I do want to kind of go backward on that so you can see, clearly see those echoes, the movement of that rotation right there. The movement of the storm cells east of Sioux Falls are moving one way, and then the other ones that are quickly catching up on the west side. And that kind of goes along with our concern here of that strong wind. There it is at 5 minutes before 9. These are 70 mile an hour wind gusts on Doppler radar between Ellis Corner and Crooks. It's that northwestern corner of Sioux Falls that appears to, although that's coming out of Hartford right now, has been very, very strong. And just to do a sample here, I've been doing this here the last half hour, and I'm still finding some pretty high numbers in there, Jay. So
yeah, and it's 60 mile an hour gust in T.
Yeah, okay, so we're up to 60 in T, and T, of course, is down this direction as we pan the maps here to the southwest side of the city of Sioux Falls, and there's definitely wind along this outflow,
And now,
too.
BK, this issued a tornado warning for Lincoln, Turner, Union counties. Severe thunderstorms capable of producing both tornadoes and extensive straight-line wind damage located near Davis, 12 miles northwest of Beersford, moving east at 60. So that's the southern part. That's the area south of Sioux Falls. But now tornado warning has been issued for Lincoln, Turner, Union counties, straight line winds or tornadoes down near Davis.
Yes, and that was a spot we were just highlighting, but I want to bring up this because I noticed that, yeah, right there.
Right there.
And it's moving along. This was a suspect area too. So
yeah, moving very quickly.
Yeah,
let's see. What do we have? Did I give you a wind speed on that or a movement? It's got.
Let's do a storm tracker. Yeah, because this is part of a whole line that's coming out of the Beersford area.
East at 60, BK.
Yeah. Okay. So here we go. We're going to just storm track this part of the tornado warning. And again, if you are in the path of this, we want you to take shelter because it is all of this weather right now over Lincoln and Minnehaha counties is increasing rapidly. There's our storm tracker. Hudson 913, Sioux Center 926, Orange City at 931. And again, this is part of this segment of the storm. Again, embedded destructive winds and a possible embedded tornado east of Davis, but moving in this direction along Highway 18. All of this north of Sioux Falls, too. We've got 60 to 70 mile-an-hour winds coming through the city. We've been kind of going back and forth. I see that downtown camera. I don't know if we're going to be
able to survive our live cam here up on a 200-foot tower, but it is really shaking wildly. And so now I do have the strong winds coming all the way through the Sioux Falls area. I think that's a pretty safe thing.
The National Weather Service in Sioux Falls has issued a tornado warning for southern Lincoln County in southeastern South Dakota, east central Turner County in southeastern South Dakota, northern Union County in southeastern South Dakota, until 9:30 p.m. At 8:55 p.m., severe thunderstorms capable of producing both tornadoes and extensive straight-line wind damage were located near Davis, or 12 miles northwest of Beersford, moving east at 60 miles an hour. Hazard, tornado. Source, radar indicated rotation. Impact, flying debris will be dangerous to those caught without shelter. Mobile homes will be damaged or destroyed. Damage to roofs, windows, and vehicles will occur. Tree damage is likely. These dangerous storms will be near Beersford around 9 p.m. Newton Hills State Park around 9:05 p.m. Hudson around 9:10 p.m. Other locations in the path of this tornadic thunderstorm include Hawarden. Take cover now. Move to a basement or an interior room on the lowest floor of a sturdy building. Avoid windows. If you are outdoors, in a mobile home, or in a vehicle, move to the closest substantial shelter and protect yourself from flying debris. This cluster of thunderstorms is capable of producing tornadoes and widespread significant wind damage. Do not wait to see or hear the tornado. For your protection, move to an interior room on the lowest floor of a building. Repeating, a tornado warning has been issued until 9:30 p.m. for the following counties in South Dakota: Lincoln, Turner, and Union.
Now, downstream into Lincoln County, there's Norway Center, there's Beersford. So right in here, this circulation is right about where our Doppler radar tower is. If you know where that is, on Interstate 29, you come north of Beersford, this area right there, and then extending to the southeast is where there could be, again, possible spin-ups within that. Also, in the rest of this line, and I'm going to go over here to the computer again so we can go back up the line to Worthing. Looks like that's the main outflow of the wind from Schindler down to Harrisburg, down to Worthing, and so that is pushing out too. The wind's probably not quite as strong there. We've had some 60-mile-an-hour winds in T, but I would say that anywhere south of there, that is looking really rough right now in this central part or southern part of Lincoln County. within that line. I'm going to go to this product. It's going to show that really definitive line there. And Jay, that's one of our big concerns right now is that is again a tornado warning. This is the storm tracker that's attached to that tornado warning coming out of Lincoln County. So folks in Sioux Center, Iowa, you're downstream from this, Hudson as well. And again, this is all a big complex now that has really changed in the last 35 minutes. This has gotten worse by the minute.
Yeah,
downtown.
And I have some information here. Multiple reports of trees down near Marion and 26th to 41st, the west side of Sioux Falls. In other words, the very strong winds we were seeing on 41st Street, numerous trees down just on the west side, southwest, just to the west of the Empire Mall, Marion Road across to 41st Street. Let's see, Neighbors Fence down with the high winds, 41st and Ellis Road. So before we look at Ellis Road with the strong winds, that has now been happening. Sioux Falls Airport now in with a 66-mile-an-hour gust. That was right as the storm came in 3 minutes ago, so 66-mile-an-hour gust out at the airport. So now we're starting to collect more and more information. Wanted to take a real quick look at something. So far, there are a few people without power, only about 18 customers in the Sioux Falls area, so there may be getting some power outages. I don't know if they're connected or not, but that's something we're going to be watching as well, because certainly when you have 60-mile-an-hour winds, you can very easily have trees knock over lines and stuff like that. So that's something we're going to be keeping an eye on too, is the power threat. But have a look at KELOLandLive.com. I've got a straight, steady shot here. It's not a time lapse. It's not anything. You can see that area of red, very heavy rainfall all along I-29, including Sioux Falls, from Lyon in the northeastern, northern part of Minnehaha County, all the way down to Beersford, the PK was just mentioning, and that is coming along with very strong winds. Yeah,
and you can hear it really whipping on the roof of the studios downtown. It's just very strong winds. So again, take shelter. We've been telling you that, and we're going to continue to warn folks downstream going into northwest Iowa. This is a line of severe weather. I'm going to reset this view here for a moment so we can kind of get you back on track here on what's going on. This is a line of severe thunderstorms and a tornado warning. We need to circle back to this down in Lincoln County right now. This is a very dangerous situation because we've got a very strong line of wind and possible embedded tornadoes within this feature that extends right here just northwest of Norway Center. So you can see where the greens and the reds are right in here. That's a circulation point that we're concerned about. Again, just to kind of put that into perspective where that is relative to Canton and Beersford. Okay, so here's Canton up here. Canton is still a little bit to the south of all this. Beersford's in the thick of this part of the storm. Here's the rain, and you can see where all of that comes together too. And again, it's a wall of rain and wind as it is now rushing through the Sioux Falls metropolitan area. And obviously from our cameras, we've been witnessing a lot of extreme amounts of wind here. And this is our Doppler radar estimate on Viper. Again, looking at just basically the extension of these warnings downstream. So anybody in Lyon County, Rock County, Minnesota, all the way down to Sioux Center, this is all headed in your direction. I'm going to check our new updates from our spotters in the field. It looks like wind gusts, we're getting a couple more of these near 66 now at the airport in Sioux Falls. So that's a brand new update there. And the rest of this, again, the continuation of this tornado warning update now. I'm just going to read this to you live here. This is the update on the tornado warning for southern Lincoln, eastern Turner. That's going to continue until 9:30. A line of severe thunderstorms producing both tornadoes and extensive straight line wind damage located near Davis or 12 miles northwest of Beersford, moving east at 60. So that is the warning as it stands right now, and I'm just putting that right on the screen there so you see where everything is moving in that southern and southeastern part of Lincoln County, Jay.
And moving at 60 miles an hour.
Yeah, so 60 from this vantage point. Again, it's going to move it right over the Big Sioux and move it into northwest Iowa. Let's do a storm tracker, brand new one for you here, as that's what we anticipated. At some point, we're going to start to see acceleration here. So as everything is going on in Sioux Falls, we're going to get to back to that in just a second. But there's that 60-mile-an-hour storm track that puts it into Hudson through 916, Ireton, Iowa 921, Morris at 928, Rock Valley at 928 this evening. And the rest of this upstream, I'm looking here between Worthing and Canton, Harrisburg. There's some really strong winds in there too. That part of the storm cell is really accelerating. So there's severe thunderstorm warnings basically north of Highway 18. It looks like Highway 18 is about the cutoff there on the tornado warning right now. So if you're watching us in the Sioux Falls area, again, we've been, and I know you're watching the live cam again here, Jay. It looks like we've been sustained here over 60 in downtown.
Yeah, very strong winds. You can see the way the trees are moving. This is basically looking straight down with our camera. You usually don't see that much wind blowing our camera around. Let me go down to 41st Street. Sheets of rain. Oh, that's out at Great Bear. You can see the thunderstorms we have down there. But I want to show you down at 41st Street. We've got sheets of rain moving through that area, and folks trying to drive in it right now. But look how the wind is driving those raindrops. So
I think you got a dumpster in the middle of the street.
Yeah, that dumpster is not supposed to be in the middle of 41st Street. I'll tell you right now.
And the rain is just moving across the roadway there pretty quickly. So
now,
again,
let me look the other direction real quick. I shoot up toward down the street a little bit. Go this way. You can see there's the tree we were showing before, still blowing. It looks like the stanchion with the street light is on it is moving, and folks still driving, but it's not pleasant out there right now, and lots of wind and lots of rain. And we have had some reports of tree damage. Most of the reports we've been getting in the past few minutes have been for the southwest part of the city, kind of where you're looking on 41st Street out the other direction to the west is where those reports have been coming from. But again, this is kind of what we've been expecting to happen during the day today. Thunderstorms to form, come on down from the northwest, coming to the Sioux Falls area. We were thinking between 8 and 9, and I think they came in about 8:30. But there is the wind, there is the very heavy rainfall. We have been getting some damage. I'm sure we're going to be talking about damage tomorrow on KELO Land News, clean up after what's going on. There's the view from downtown. You can see the way that the live cam is shaking there. It doesn't do that very often, so I'm sure we're getting pretty numerous shots of 60+ mile-an-hour winds here in downtown Sioux Falls, and it's almost getting to the point I'll be surprised if the camera survives that, because I'm not used to seeing it blow around for that long. In any event, we've got the very strong winds, we've got the heavy rainfall, and BK is looking at, I mean, it's difficult here in Sioux Falls, but it looks like it could be even worse down to our south, BK.
Yeah, I'm getting quite a few reports now around Beersford of 60 to 70 mile-an-hour winds. I'm seeing that coming in now. So a lot of strong winds here all the way down I-29. I've got a sensor now in Harrisburg. Winds are gusting to out of the northwest of 45. But yeah, it's been basically very strong winds all across the city of Sioux Falls, and some of those areas, as you mentioned before, some reports of some tree line or tree damage and those kind of things. We'll sort some of those things out as we go through. I still see that Canton is at 83. Canton is right on the edge of the storm line. So if you're in Canton, if you're in Inwood, this is coming right on in. I want to give you the latest perspective. Here's the latest on this tornado warning. Some of this that's extending south of Canton is really a pretty nasty line there. That's basically what the Weather Service just did on this when they came out with the tornado warning, is they just went ahead and put out a line of destructive wind and embedded tornado possibilities. So what can happen here is that anywhere along this line, we can see a real quick spin up, very fast. It's not going to give you much time notice, but you can see right along here, any of these little spots like this one between Fairview and Norway Center, right in there, there's a little spot that looks suspicious there. This is up to the north toward Canton. I'm going to zoom back over here too, Jay.
Just quickly, KELO News now reporting a power outage in northwestern Sioux Falls, and also it looks like kind of the west side of Sioux Falls as well, BK.
Yeah, looks like some real strong winds too here north of Canton right now. Oh my, 100 mile an hour.
That's
bad.
Well,
and we're going to have to deal with that. You know, folks, that's one thing here. I'm going to tell you right now, this is a mean line of storms, and it is
like a
coming through.
real big tornado.
Yeah, so let's take this awfully seriously, folks. We've got some really bad stuff going on here with this wind. Okay, now they just issued a destructive severe thunderstorm warning. I knew that would come out. This takes us down here to eastern Lincoln. Let me bring up the verbiage on this so we know what's going on. Again, right now, this is just the latest information. It looks like...
Did you see Irene? I think that's what it's response to. Irene in Turner County, wind gust 87 miles an hour from the Mesonet station.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, so I want to get this right here. So we've got the latest warning box that's just coming in. Again, this is a severe thunderstorm warning for the rest of Lincoln County. I'm going to go ahead and just read the text to you here. This is in effect here for this area, again, located to the south of Sioux Falls. Warning in effect until 10 o'clock tonight. And we're looking at, again, a very destructive line of storms. They've kind of highlighted this. Let me take the, I'm going to clean up the colors here for just a minute because we need to do that.
By the way, Parker Mesonet station, 85 mile an hour gust measured.
Okay. And Parker, too, we were showing earlier. Now, we haven't had Parker on here just lately.
I'm trying to get down there to see if I can.
Yeah, a lot of wind coming in here, folks.
There's Parker. So okay. I'm seeing wind, I'm seeing rain. I'm not seeing quite the gusty winds that we had a few minutes ago, clearly. Yeah. I don't see an 85 mile an hour gust right now.
So, again, just to kind of monitor all of this right now, folks that are, one thing that's really standing out to me right now is all of this wind that's just north of Canton. That's really got me concerned there. I'm seeing some of these gusts here. You know, I'm looking north of town, you know, it's near 100, it's 97. So there's some big wind going on there. We need you to be safe. That's tornado like wind, that straight line wind that's coming for Inwood right now. Alvord, Dune. Now, of course, you can work your way down the line here. Look at that. I'm getting 95 mile an hour wind gusts now. So this is really starting to take over. Look at all of those 90 mile an hour wind gusts now that I'm getting in these scans. So if you are basically Harrisburg east to the Big Sioux and you go all the way down, again, we're going to get new scans on this, but basically 70 to 90 mile an hour wind gusts look to be favorable. And within that, there can be a tornado. It's dark, you can't see. So we need you in your tornado shelter right now in these areas.
I'm sure those are in Iowa by now.
Yeah, and they're moving that fast.
They're in Iowa right now.
Yep, and again, let me see if, again, kind of holding, yeah, and I knew this would happen too, Jay. We've got, we're going to go to an alternate power source on the Beerser radar because power's out. That just happened here too. So, again, there's Canton, there's Klondike, there's Granite, Larchwood. Just a really nasty line of storms here moving into northwest Iowa. So this has come through Sioux Falls. It's barreling southeast. We are very concerned about, look at this too, Jay, right in here. Okay, I'm gonna get this right. This is Fairview. If you know Fairview, south of Canton right now, there's something going on right in this spot. There's some twisting going on, and I got a wind gate there at 94. It's a lot of wind. That's moving right across the river into Hudson and Rock Valley downstream too from this stuff. So please take these warnings seriously. This is really accelerating. This started around Sioux Falls. It ramped up at 8:30. It's getting stronger as it pushes into northwestern Iowa and a line of destructive winds. We've been probing all of that line there. Again, on the traditional view on the radar, it looks like this right now. It looks like we've got just basically just heavy rain in here. But again, it's just torrential sheets of rain driven by all of this wind. And it is definitely making its mark here tonight as it moves through. There's been several areas here. I still don't like this area near north of Canton, how bad that is right now, Jay. That's really bad. That's coming right into Canton. They're getting some really bad wind right now. Don Jorgensen's coming into the studio. He's going to join us here in just a moment. I'm sure we've got some more damage reports to relay to our viewers, but please be in your tornado shelters with this line of destructive weather moving through. Again, that's a destructive severe thunderstorm warning for southern Lincoln, western portions of Sioux County, and extending into northern, in fact, a big chunk of Union County as well. Don, if you want to come on in here, and we'll...
I don't have a lot to report, but we just took a call from a viewer who said that there's a tree down on a house in the area of 26th and Western.
Yeah, okay.
That's about all we've heard so far.
So just north, it's that kind of that same neighborhood we were showing with the live cam of 41st Street. I've been getting a lot of reports and pictures from folks I know of trees down, kind of 41st Street, just north of Empire Mall, and certainly out to the west toward T. Ellis Road, that western part of Sioux Falls. We have been seeing a lot of trees down there, plus also reports of power outages, the northwestern part of Sioux Falls. Doesn't look like it's real widespread. We still see on our live cam right now, you can still see there's plenty of lights off to the west. And the other thing I would mention is the winds not as strong now as they were. The rain not as heavy as it was before. So right now, BK, the strongest part of that storm is what's going into Iowa right now.
Yeah, it certainly is. And we want to make sure that we're covering all of our bases here. So recap of where we're at right now. Severe thunderstorm warning is in effect here for northern and western portions of Lyon County. Also, we're looking at southern portions of Rock County, Minnesota. This has been a very destructive line of storms, and I will say that the southern flank of this continues to show some extreme wind as things are moving here off to the southeast, and that's been kind of our main concern here over the last several minutes. But in particular now, just a new update here between Klondike and Inwood. I'm going to just sample some of these numbers for you here. Coming in, I mean, they're still really bad. There's a lot of these are, 80 to 100 or somewhere around that range. Now, remember, when we're measuring this on Doppler radar, the scan is looking at that cloud, so it is a few, it's not at the surface, but we're still relatively close to the ground, so we're below 1,000 feet. So we are seeing, and we know that we've had winds 87 in Irene, and I'm sure we're going to get more reports in here too. So we're just giving you a heads up that if you are in northwest Iowa, you've got to take this seriously. You've got to be in your place of safety right now. These are the kind of winds that can do a lot of property damage, and they're very fast movers. The last storm track we did was east at 60. I'd like to do that again, Jay, just to give us a bird's eye view here of what's been going on. I'm gonna storm track this whole line, and I realize that this is likely moving a little faster than what we're indicating here, so I'm gonna boost the speed just a hair. Okay, so Rock Valley, we've got 923 on here. That's not very long. Things are moving fast. Sioux Center, Iowa, 923. Dune, Iowa, 928. Orange City at 928. So those are some respective communities there along that line. And I would say this is not showing any signs of weakening. These kind of features, like when we look at this to the southeast of Hudson, that is a real bad sign too there. It looks like there's some bulging going on there, so that's probably another source of really strong wind. Obviously, all of this wind that's been raking through this whole area south of Canton in particular is really very, very intense. So That's a lot of information. I know folks are, just watching all of this live. We're keeping you posted. I've got a new report out of Harrisburg, 68-mile-an-hour wind with at least a report there. Again, that's from Harrisburg. I've got a new update on this destructive severe thunderstorm. Again, for the Sioux Falls, or for the area just south of Sioux Falls, that's the box that's flashing. And again, that's a storm that's moving east at about 60 miles per hour. So nothing real urgent in that new update there. But I see that we've got a 77-mile-an-hour wind gust out of that area southwest of Beersford and Parker. 85-mile-an-hour wind gust.
Yeah, that was the one a bit earlier.
Yeah, a little bit earlier. So again, these are all part of a list, kind of a long list of things there too. And yeah, 5 west of Sioux Falls, we got thunderstorm wind gusts with damage and large tree limbs broken down. So it's been very, very active here in the last hour. This has really picked up. This was kind of our fear that we would have, more of these kind of winds brushing through and really picking up as this storm line now enters in northwest Iowa. So please continue to monitor the weather. I want to, as we're looking at the radar, and I apologize, I'm just looking at some data here behind the scenes while I'm doing all this, but you can see that this whole area that's consolidated right there from Laverne all the way down to Hawarden, Iowa. That's basically the worst of this. And as the new scans come in, let's take a look at the brand new data. So here's Inwood. Here's what's going on right now. We've got wind gusts in here. There's still 80 to 90. Some of this down near Hudson is still closer to 100. So very, very strong winds in there. And again, we're finding that the ground conformation is coming in some of these communities at least at 85 to 90. So what that means, when you see all of that, connecting the dots there, if you're in Rock Rapids, Dune, Rock Valley, Hall, Sioux Center, Boyden, George, maybe up to Ellsworth. We're going to include you as well. The northern flank isn't as strong, but definitely we need to be watching all of that area because that destructive wind, we don't see anything weakening there. So we're going to assume that right now we can anticipate winds like that, or at least 70 to 80 to 90, 100 miles an hour, all within that embedded line. And one structure, Jay, that really stands out is this little punch that's coming out kind of towards Sioux Center. You look at this little bulge right in there on Doppler. That's probably wind that's channeling out. And I'm going to assume, too, that wind that's probably a little bit farther east already. Yeah. It's showing it there just a little west of Sioux Center, but plan on it's coming right into town very, very shortly. So you better just go right to your tornado shelter right now with those prospects coming in. Rock Valley, it's not a whole lot different. We're just going to assume right now that we got a lot of wind here plastered throughout this whole area. Inwood to Canton is just raining really, really heavy, and those sheets of rain and wind are coming through as we speak. I don't have any new reports out of some of these areas south of Sioux Falls. We're just going to keep all the information flowing. So as soon as we hear something more, we'll be passing it along. So damage reports, I'm sure we'll hear more about that as more things are collected. But at the present moment, we're just tracking all of this live tonight. As more reports will likely come in throughout the evening. I see one I'm just reading now out of Vollen. They've had some strong winds there. And other reports, nothing that I see right at the present moment in front of me, Jay. But again, this is all part of the conditions here tonight. Yeah,
last night we were talking about severe weather, damaging thunderstorms, tornadoes, northeastern South Dakota. Today it's been pretty widespread, Don, so I'm sure you're collecting information from all over.
Yeah, we keep getting phone calls in the newsroom. A good, reliable source, a former KELO employee, told me that the tornado sirens did go off in Viborg. That was about 20 minutes ago. And we just got a report of a street light down at 26 in Sertoma as well. And you think about when Brian was talking about those 90 to 100 mile an hour winds down in that area. This whole part of KELO land has been so saturated all summer with a lot of rain, and a lot of these trees can't withstand that.
Yeah, and we've been seeing it. I know, looking at our internal communications here at KELO, lots of pictures. And thanks for sending in pictures, by the way. But lots of pictures of trees down and stuff like that.
Yeah,
the central part of the city, especially the west side.
And we want to remind people, if you're going to be sending pictures or videos, make sure that you're playing it safe, too.
The good news is, for Sioux Falls at least, the winds have died down. And the rain is not as heavy. The lightning is there. Donna is going to be collecting more severe weather information, damage reports, and things like that in the newsroom. And we'll be sharing those with you on KELO News in another 35 minutes or so. In the meantime, we're watching what still looks like that mean storm system moving out of South Dakota into Iowa. And if anything, the atmospheric conditions in Iowa are just as significant, and maybe even more so than what we had here in the southeastern portion of South Dakota. And as a result, we do have a continuation of those thunderstorm warnings, and they've just sent them well out in front of that line of thunderstorms because it is moving so fast. When it's 60 miles an hour, it's hard to even keep up with it. And that's why BK was giving you those numbers before on the wind speeds are just off the charts. We don't often see straight line winds of that speed, and right now we're getting even more of those that we're seeing, at least on Doppler radar. BK.
Well, this is, I mean, some numbers here I wouldn't normally show. I'm not saying that that's what's happening near Rock Valley, but boy, I mean, 80 to 100 is still showing up there. Some awfully big numbers. Now remember, we're getting a little farther away from the radar, so we're going to acknowledge that these are Doppler radar estimates that are coming in within that cloud layer. But it's still very concerning. I mean, there's no question we got a wall of wind, Alvord, and you can assume Dune. It's getting into Rock Valley now. There's Sioux Center, too. It's coming right through. And these kind of winds have a history of producing damaging winds. We're uprooting trees and creating all sorts of issues here. Obviously, it's really detrimental to the crops, too. It's really sad to see if we're, seeing corn crops flatten and that kind of thing. Obviously, we can't know that right now. But, there's certainly pockets here that seem to be kind of going that way with this kind of wind. So please be, if you're ahead of this line, I mean, I can still probe numbers that are extremely high, all the way down to Ireton, Iowa, and past there. Again, these are destructive. In fact, they just reissued this destructive severe thunderstorm warning, Jay. Big chunk of Lyon County, Osceola County, O'Brien County, Cherokee County, and northern Plymouth counties, in addition to Sioux County.
So pretty much all of KELO land that exists in northwest Iowa.
Correct. Yep. All of our northwest Iowa viewers right now just put under this destructive severe thunderstorm warning. And I just want to re-emphasize that, again, that's a pretty rare thing to see that type of a warning that big, but they went ahead and put that out. And again, with the information at hand, yeah, winds of at least 80 miles per hour embedded within this line. So flying debris will be dangerous, and obviously heavy damage, considerable damage can be expected in these areas. And
I have some additional information coming in. City of Lenox reporting trees and power lines down, blocking many roadways, but they're asking people to remain indoors and delay any cleanup until tomorrow because it is not safe to do so out there in the
hey Jay,
in the dark.
I
Yes?
gotta show you this thing near Alvord. We've got something going on there.
Oh boy.
Yeah, we've got a tornado. I'm going to just say that right now. That is likely.
Alvord, Iowa, yes.
That is likely a tornado. We don't have a specific call out on that, but we're going to call it here at KELO. That right there, very tight circulation. It's moving north of Alvord. It's moving out into this area, out into Lyon County. Let me go back to this. So we're going to track this. If you are in, now I want to get this right, so we're going to go, I'm going to do a 15-minute loop on this. Okay, right there. See how fast that's developing?
Wow, that just spun up very quickly.
It is. Yep, and we know we've got some really damaging weather going on there. So from Rock Rapids, let's measure this right now. From downtown Rock Rapids, Iowa, that is about 8 miles to the southwest of town. So again, very quick spin up, but we believe that there's probably a developing tornado in there, very likely in a scenario like this. So again, just going to mention that quickly on the air. I was kind of looking down the line here, Jay, too. And this area right west of Sioux Center, there's a lot of powerful winds. This is bulging into Sioux Center. I really feel suspect that that area too, there's some really big things going on down here. And obviously we're here on the air to relay obviously the destructive severe thunderstorm warning. But again, the upper level or the winds within those clouds have been gusting at least at 100. But down at the surface, we've been getting confirmed reports of 80 to 90. It's not a lot different. That's going to produce a lot of damage. So as we're live on television, we just want to emphasize you need to be in your tornado shelter. You need to treat this as if anywhere along that line that goes all, and boy, that still is really pronounced around Alvord. I'm just, you know, if you are in Alvord, you've got to be in your, this is really an imminent threat.
Yep.
Tornado.
We are getting more and more damage reports coming in, BK, almost as fast as we can talk about them. They're collecting them in the newsroom on KELO TV. XL Energy reporting 3,900 customers in Sioux Falls without power. And I'm sure there's a lot more than that down to our south. And it's just a matter of time before all those reports come in. Here's a look at the big picture. And this is your more traditional radar view. And as we were saying, pretty much all of KELO land in that northwest quarter of Iowa, the 9 counties there under a severe thunderstorm warning. But embedded tornadoes have been a threat during the day or during the evening. And as BK says right now, it looks like we have one trying to spin up right around the Alvord area as we speak. The storm is moving out of the Sioux Falls area, but it's moving very quickly now into northwest Iowa. Northwest Iowa and southwest Minnesota, you are under a severe thunderstorm watch until 1 a.m. And by that time, we should see this whole thing moving out. But in the meantime, we have to deal with those very strong winds and perhaps accompanied by some heavy rain. At least that's what we saw here in the Sioux Falls area. Hail threat hasn't really been doing much lately. Most of that has been well up in the northeastern corner of South Dakota. We're dealing with the winds and the rain, BK.
All right, I want to go back to Alvord again, okay? This is where that suspect tornado is right now. And again, this is an area, here's Alvord, 1, 2 miles, basically 2 to 3 miles east of town. It's moving east at about 60. So if you are in those country areas there east of Alvord, please especially, this is a dangerous situation with that type of circulation going on right now, and that's going to cut toward George, Iowa if it continues that direction. Let's do a storm tracker on this whole line. I also see Sioux Center. That really bothers me too. That's a lot of wind. This has been consistently showing. In fact, there's even a couple of gates here, Jay. Do you see that where they're moving inbound? Right in there too. So that's another real suspect area right over Sioux Center, Iowa, where again you can quickly spin up tornadoes, or in addition just to the straight line wind damage, it is a big concern here. So and these numbers are still way high. I mean, we're getting 100 at where we're measuring all of that at the radar. And just to let you know too, from where we're measuring this, I'm going to pixel query this again. So it looks to me like that measurement, that's taken about 2,300 feet off the surface. Okay, so I know that's bulk, numbers and whatnot, but it gives you a sense of, okay, well, it's not right at the ground that it's that high, but it's still concerning when we see numbers like that, because at the ground level, you can easily get 80 to 90. So that's just what we're telling you as we're monitoring all of that in that area. The rest of all of this, we should go back to just a broader view, Jay. There's no other warnings in this area that we're concerned about west of Sioux Falls. Everything right now is focused northwest Iowa. Right at this present moment is this large destructive severe thunderstorm warning box that's out there. And it includes pretty much everybody that watches us in northwest Iowa, all the way down to Cherokee right now.
So very strong winds headed your way, and probably some rain as well. Wind-driven rain is what it's going to be. If you're just joining us, we're on the air for since before 4 o'clock as these tornadoes, the tornadic situations started to develop. We started with a few discrete supercell producing thunderstorms in the central part of South Dakota. And during the evening hours, they've just continued to march to the east, moving into the warm, humid, unstable air that fueled those. We've had hail, in fact, big hail up in the northeastern part of South Dakota. We had some some baseball-size hail, tennis ball-size hail reported up there. That part of the storm has now moved off into Minnesota, now causing problems over in western Minnesota. The southeastern corner of KELO land, that's where we had all the heat and humidity during the day today. That line of thunderstorms moved into the heat and humidity and produced, as expected, a lot of tornadoes. We saw tornadoes near the Gregory area, going down toward Fort Randall, right along the border. And now that has transitioned again into that wall of wind, very strong, destructive winds. And that continues at this hour, BK.
All right. Weather Service now put out that tornado warning for what we've been talking about here near Dune, between Dune and Rock Rapids. I'll read this to you here. Again, this caught our eye here just a few minutes ago. And again, a lot of spin there indicated on that little couplet there. So it's a tornado warning for southeastern Lyon County, southwestern Osceola. And this is, again, a tornadic portion of that storm moving east at 50. Okay, so that gives you, again, an idea of that. And again, we're right there honed in on this area. Very fast mover, but it is certainly a distinct area just a little bit south of Rock Rapids, not very far. It's probably about 4 or 5 miles south of town. You can see these little bulges. There's one pocket there. There's another pocket there just north of Hull. Those are basically channels of wind, too, that are pushing out. So that whole area is very dealing with a lot of violent weather right now, very active weather. And so, again, those are the specific tornado warning areas. George, Ashton included in the tornado warning, as well as Sanborn, Iowa. So again, that movement is east-southeast a little bit on the tornadic part of that, but we've got our whole storm tracker still up there. I'm going to go back to our traditional view on the radar so you can see the whole thing here as it's moving through tonight. This, again, is a consolidated line, but boy, look at that. You can just see that what's going on there near Alvord. That's really concerning. And let me illustrate this.
It's drawing that band of rain right around the circulation.
Yeah, that's just, there is definitely something going on in here. This is a threat. This is a dangerous area right now. We're going to assume that if there's not a tornado, that it is producing extremely strong winds, and a tornado is imminent if it's not already on the ground. And obviously, when it's rain wrap like this, you've got all that heavy rain, you're not going to see that. So these farm places on these roads here, let me do this here for a moment. I'm really going to get dialed in here on this. Okay, these are Lyon County roads, 190th Street, 200th Street, you can see down here, and here's County Highway 834. These are areas in rural Lyon County, but they are really impacted. So if you live in that area, if you know someone that lives in that area, or downstream toward Edna and George, get into your basement, get ready for this storm. It's coming in, it is strong, it's severe, and has a history of producing a lot of intense weather tonight. And that, again, is an area that we've been really focused in on as it's been moving out of the Sioux Falls area. Obviously, we'll be getting to the damage in Sioux Falls coming up, but the immediate threat is that tornado. Here's another example. Now, this has moved through Sioux Center. We mentioned this too, Jay. And I would argue probably around Middleburg and this Newkirk area. Probably more going on there north of Orange City again. And it's just a lot of wind within those clouds. And again, I hate to show these, but I'm going to show them because there's some big numbers in there. These are winds aloft at the Doppler radar, what it's measuring, but it's telling us that there's a lot of rushing wind coming out of that cloud, and it's coming down to the ground. So it can sometimes be less than these numbers would show, but there's still just lots of momentum being transferred down, and it's moving through. It's going to hit Hospers. There's Boyden. You're right on the edge of that, too. And this little spot right there, there's another one just east of Sioux Center. That looks a little suspicious. These little things like that. It's like finding a needle in a haystack, and you can find these little spots that'll start to spin up, and they can happen very quickly, like the one we've been observing there south of Rock Rapids. I would say it's still there. There's a broader circulation, Jay, near the Edna area, that little area that's southeast of Rock Rapids. So the folks that live in that area know these spots well, and we need to make sure that you are very well aware of what's going on here, because it's moving downstream, and this entire region is under a destructive severe thunderstorm warning.
And remember, we were talking about the way we're getting indications of strong winds well behind the line of thunderstorms. We'll have a look at downtown Sioux Falls right now. We've got strong winds yet again. A few minutes ago, the airport, they reported another gust of 66 miles an hour. You can see the live cam shaking there. It is still windy, even though we have had the rain pretty much be done here in the Sioux Falls area. So lots and lots of wind there. Let's go down to 41st Street and see the wind is still blowing there, even though the rain has stopped. You can see we have a lot of wind in that exact area. And I'm looking out toward the interstate now, and this is the way it looks there. Not too much in the way of traffic. Everybody's staying away from, I guess that's the exit off of the interstate in southwestern Sioux Falls. But yeah, we're still getting a lot of reports now in of damage starting to come on in, and they're collecting those downstairs. In just a few minutes, in about 20 minutes, we're going to start, we'll bring you more about that information. And I'm sure there's going to be a lot more later tonight and tomorrow, because this has been a very big, widespread severe weather event. We've had virtually all forms of severe weather, and doing damage in many spaces, many places, widespread across the KELO region. Right now, though, we do want to focus on northwest Iowa, because the situation there might even be more significant than we saw in the southeastern part of South Dakota, because the severe weather parameters, the atmospheric conditions, have been pretty strong in northwest Iowa, and now the strong thunderstorms moving out of South Dakota are in northwest Iowa. And that's why BK has been looking. We don't have as much information, real-time data on the ground. I was just looking at our live cams in Orange City and Sioux Center, and I'm not able to connect to them right now, so I don't know why that is. But in any event, the line of thunderstorms with embedded tornadoes is what you're looking at right now, BK.
Yeah, it is definitely a very intense line. Again, if you are just joining us, we're watching live coverage of destructive severe thunderstorms in northwest Iowa. I do want to make a couple of observations here. I still believe that this little notch that's going on near Hospers, this little thing right there, that's a suspect area. This little extension out near Alton is also another area that I would say, if it's not producing a tornado, it can be a candidate for that, because those are spots that we typically watch on the edges of these bowing segments with these strong damaging winds. So there's one again near Alton, another one near Newkirk, that's just a little bit west of Hospers, Iowa. And then you head up to the north, again, the rest of this tornado warning, as we are looking at this. Again, this is kind of sourced up here toward George. Let's bring up our latest data. I would say right now, Jay, that circulation, certainly when it was over here toward Albert, it was really tight. It's kind of broadened out a little bit. Now, that's not to be unexpected, you know, a situation like this. But you still have a lot of wind that's flowing through those clouds. I mean, these numbers are still way too high in here.
Yeah. At some point, the result doesn't really matter, because you're talking about straight line winds that are going about the same speed as a big tornado anyway. So yeah, it's kind of academic. We know that there's bad wind in that area. Yeah, and this all started again near Sioux Falls and kind of took off near Hartford, and then we started seeing some, you know, at least measurements there over 90 miles per hour south of Canton. Again, to recap where we're at, a lot of storm reports are coming in. Obviously, we're going to be gathering more of this as we approach the top of the hour. KELO News will be airing in some form or fashion. We'll be probably doing a hybrid with our live severe weather coverage. We're going to stay live until
all of this pushes through. But nevertheless, right now, the way we stand, and I want to bring this up here on the just the regular view of the radar, so everything that's kind of funneled into northwest Iowa. If you're downstream, I know we got a lot of viewers in Sibley and Little Rock. This is definitely affecting you as well. You're probably just a little bit more on the northern side of it, but you're in the affected zone. So Matlock, Iowa, Sheldon is in there. Sheldon is going to really get some mean weather here very shortly. It's moving into town. There's that live velocity data. These are the numbers we've been showing. You can see they go from this to that. I mean, these, and I'm not, again, saying that these are actual numbers that are coming down to the ground, but even, Jay, if the number's half that, it's still a lot of wind, and this is, you know, numbers well over 100 within that cloud. So we're remembering that we're measuring the wind at about 2,000 to 3,000 feet off the surface, but there's the brand new data coming in. So, you know, anywhere along this line, we are assuming that there's destructive pockets of wind occurring as this whole thing advances, and it's a long line. It goes all the way. Our storm tracker, we're going to put this up live. Rock Rapids, George, I'm going to scoot right ahead of the main squall down to Remsen, and then we're going to push this east-southeast. We're going to go at least at 60 on that. So those are some communities that come up. Paulina by 952, Ashton 953, Sanborn, Iowa 956. That gives you some perspective there. If you're in Everly and Spencer and Sioux Rapids, Iowa, all of this is coming down your direction as well, Jay.
And I did want to mention, I tried to look at our cameras down in northwest Iowa. I wasn't having much luck connecting with them. But I can look at that storm. This is Laverne. This is kind of from the power plant looking to the south, in which you see all of that ferocious lightning. You're looking down into northwest Iowa, and that is, those are the storms producing the winds that Brian is showing you. So even from southwest Minnesota, we can see that those thunderstorms, because pretty much all of them are in northwest Iowa, not so much in southwest Minnesota. So you're looking across the border with all the thunder and lightning there. Again, we still have some strong winds here in the Sioux Falls area, and this was not unexpected, because we have seen some indications, even in other places, strong winds behind the original line of thunderstorms. So it's not unusual that that would happen. There are a couple different mechanisms that can cause that. But in any event, we still have some pretty decent winds here in Sioux Falls, not nearly as strong as they were before. And of course, now they're not accompanied by very, very heavy rainfall that has come through. So that's what it looks like right now in Sioux Falls using our LimeCan network. Again, the best way to find out what's going on down in northwest Iowa is by looking at our data coming in by radar. And I know that's up in the sky. That's where the radar beam is, up in the clouds. But we get a pretty good indication of exactly where the very strong winds are by just looking at the winds within those thunderstorms. Looking at the Doppler radar on our the radar data in our Doppler radar, Brian.
Okay, as we're scouring some of all the reports that are coming in. I did notice, too, a couple things, Jay, about some of these reports out of Harrisburg. I know a lot of communities. We got a lot of these coming in. But I also noticed in Canton, I've lost contact with some of the stations there. So I'm assuming that we have power outages there, probably affecting that since the data is all cut off. I'll be monitoring more of those as this goes down the line. But just to reiterate where we're at here at 13 minutes before the hour. This is the spot. Again, we're going to go back to this in parts of Lyon County right now, north of Matlock. This whole area that's crossing over into portions of Osceola County, if you're in O'Brien, and that northeastern tip of Sioux County. That's where this is all kind of converging, and this whole line is right there. Okay, so again, we're on the air to cover all of this, but that is a tornado warning embedded within the larger destructive severe thunderstorm warning. That warning is going to continue till 10. Now, we'll see what happens at 10 o'clock. If that changes a little bit, I'm sure it'll be just extended farther east based on everything we're seeing right now. And what you're looking at on the screen is the wind. We've been really focused on that. But when we look at the actual, just the basic, reds and the rains and all the heavy weather that we see here, do you see this little spot north or a little east of Hospers? There's a little notch right there. That's a little subtle feature, but that can be a problem too. So I wanted to point that out quickly here as we're scanning the skies that direction. There's Archer, Iowa, so that's kind of headed your way. Sheldon is right in the thick of it too. It's moving through Sheldon. And then it looks to me like everything here north of George is kind of a consolidated area. There's obviously still a warning box that goes all the way to the Minnesota border. I would still say right over George, there's some evidence of circulation here. So please be in your tornado shelter. That tornado warning is going to continue until 10 o'clock, and then we'll see what happens next. Winds, straight line damaging winds are rushing through these clouds. And when we probe all of this, I can go all the way out here and this hasn't changed at all. And these numbers are still really, really high. Some of them are above 100. So whether or not all of that is reaching the ground, that's the thing. We don't know. We can't tell you that. It could be, but if it's not, we'd rather be a little safe and tell you, you need to take this seriously, because obviously when it's dark and we're dealing with shrouds of rain, we're not able to see anything. And we're just getting the very initial reports of some of that damage coming in. I did see a report, J2, of 75-mile-an-hour wind down in Beersford, so that is actually an update now. This one out of Centerville was 77. The one of 87 came in east of Irene. And, of course, we reported all the trees down in the Lenox area. And then, of course, other damage that our news crews were just assembling right now as we approach 10 o'clock. And we'll have, of course, the very latest here on that coming up. But at the moment, you are watching where that strong wind is, and right there, if you're in Sheldon, it's moving through now. Sanborn, Primgar, and Paulina, you're next. You're on the list of getting this weather. Sibley, Iowa, too. It's a little bit on the northern flank. As far as the strength is concerned, I would still put a lot of caution there. There's a lot of potential wind, but probably maybe the worst of that is a little bit south, as that tornado warning box is going to be there until 10 p.m. And then we'll reevaluate, see where that all goes next as those new data scans come in here, Jay. And everything right now, we're focused northwest Iowa. That's where basically everything is consolidated here within the last half hour.
All right, let me give you an update on the big picture, BK. Here's what's going on. We do have the severe thunderstorm watch, which has been canceled for most of South Dakota. Most of South Dakota. You can see Sioux Falls area, well, south of Sioux Falls, Lincoln County, down toward Union County, probably Clay County in South Dakota. We still have that severe thunderstorm watch, and that is set to expire in 8 minutes. But the surrounding area in northwest Iowa, southwest Minnesota, northeastern Nebraska, that severe thunderstorm watch continues until 1 a.m. The red box on the screen south of Worthington in northwest Iowa, that is the storm that Brian has been talking about, potentially tornadic, and if not tornadic, certainly extremely strong winds. That's the extension of the storms that went through Sioux Falls in the southeastern part of South Dakota.
Wind gusts to near 100, 2 miles northwest of Sioux Center. So that when we were scanning that a little while ago, let me back this up here just a moment. We'll go back to Sioux Center, and that was right there.
Oof.
Yeah, and that was, well, 99 is the official number I've got here. That's just a message I just got from Adam Rutt. Now, of course, our radar Doppler estimate was 125, but
that is a mesonet. Reported mesonet.
Right. And so obviously damage in Sioux Center with 100-mile-an-hour wind. There's no question about that. So just to emphasize what's coming downstream, we're going to be very direct and very clear about that. Sanborn, Primgar, Paulina, this kind of wind has been reported. We've been getting gusts consistently 80 to 100, and that's moving in your direction. You need to be in your tornado shelter. This is the kind of wind that can roll roll a mobile home. It can be very destructive with tree limbs and all the rest that come down with that kind of wind. So we're just being very clear with you this evening that that is a direct threat there to areas in northwestern Iowa. I'm kind of scanning through the rest of my messages here too while we're on the air here, Jay. I still don't have very many reports out of Canton, and I'm thinking, I know the power's out down here, almost certain of that, but as to the amounts of damage, I still don't have anything there, but obviously we'll be in communication with law enforcement and others in these areas, emergency management, and obviously any direct messaging to our news department. Our news department is getting ready for portions of our newscast. We're going to plan on taking some of that here live here shortly. So just hang tight for that. We've had numerous damage reports in Sioux Falls due to 60 to 70 plus mile-an-hour winds tonight. And again, the worst of this has moved to the east of Sioux Falls. I'm just kind of monitoring all this behind the scenes, Jay, but I would call out at this present moment, Sheldon, pretty rough. We're getting, you know, when we were getting those reports out of Sioux Center, you know, we just scanned that a moment ago here, so we know that the wind was 100 there. Probably it's at least 80 to 90 in Sheldon. It's moving through right now. That's a fairly large community there in northwest Iowa. Obviously Sanborn, it's moving down your way as well, and this whole line is headed for Paulina, Sutherland. Eventually Cherokee will be on the southern flank of that, but can be part of that as well. So this whole warning is set to expire, and just as I say that,
just as you said that,
it is now being expanded. I'm not surprised one bit. Destructive severe thunderstorm now for the Iowa Great Lakes. That's for Okoboji, Spirit Lake, Milford, down to Spencer, Highway 71, all the way down to Storm Lake. So it's a large, destructive, severe thunderstorm warning as our concern continues for these areas to the east of Sioux Falls tonight. By the way, I just got a report now, Rock Rapids, their highest wind close to 80. I have a report now out of Orange City. Okay, I just mentioned Sioux Center near 100, Orange City, Iowa 92. So the whole area, that central area of Sioux County, very productive area, very lot of you know, areas that you think about. I know that a lot of that area has been hit this summer so far. We had a lot of storms down in Sioux County. Tonight, this is the biggest one, and that's a devastating storm, producing widespread flattening winds like that throughout a really productive agricultural area of northwest Iowa.
Yeah, and mature crops. I'm sure that we're going to have a lot of sad stories to talk about tomorrow. I mentioned that Sioux Falls, we did have the rain come to an end. Just want to show you the more traditional radar view. And just to let you know, it looks like we've got some additional showers coming in from the west. These aren't real big storms or anything like that, but all along I-90 from Mitchell across to the east through the Salem area, looks like we got some more showers. So Sioux Falls, we're not necessarily done with all the rainfall, but looks like we're done with all the heavier stuff. And of course, down to our south, we have a broader area of rainfall also down toward the Yankton area, and now moving in through northwest Iowa. That's where we have the strong winds. That's where we have the destructive thunderstorms coming on through, and probably some embedded tornadoes that we'll be talking about tomorrow as well. Again, those areas, that's where we have the severe thunderstorm warning for destructive storms. You see the flashing box there. It's essentially the northwest corner of Iowa, the 9 counties in the northwest corner of Iowa. Up to the north in Minnesota, we've had some showers, we've had some lightning, but so far they have not had the type of activity that we've had further on down to the south. So that's what's going on there. I want to show you that much of the rest of the area is now quiet after a day in which we've seen widespread severe thunderstorms, even some tornadoes. And so we're going to be bringing you a lot of information about those strong storms moving through the KELO viewing area during the day today. BK is still looking at that one storm. Do you have an update real quickly from northwest Iowa?
Yeah, just watching the latest scan here. Again, this whole line around Sanborn continues to be very problematic. Down to Paulina, we suspect that There's obviously a lot more going on here with strong, damaging winds. I know that as our news department is getting ready to go for KELO News, we've had tree damage in Sioux Falls. Obviously, there'll be more about that coming up here shortly. And we want to make sure that anybody downstream, we're going to continue to make sure you're safe here. Hartley, you're next. Sutherland, Iowa, too. Even up here towards Sibley. Sibley is more in a position where we've kind of seen some of these couplets coming up out of that tornado warning box. That tornado warning is set to expire here at 10. So we will see if that gets reissued or not. But look at the wind that continues to flow through these clouds. This is, again, when I bring these numbers up, they aren't budging a whole lot. There's just a tremendous amount of wind channeling through. Any one of those numbers that I just popped up on your screen can do significant damage, Jay.
So widespread severe thunderstorms central and northeastern South Dakota during the day today. We do have a severe thunderstorm watch that continues in the northwest part of Iowa and the southwest part of Minnesota until 3 a.m. We've had tornadoes. We've had big hail in the north. We've had a broad area of destructive winds. We've even had some pockets of heavy rainfall. We're going to go through all of that in just a couple of minutes. In the meantime, KELO News starts now.
Live from KELO Media Group, KELO News at 10.
Strong winds swept through Sioux Falls tonight and even last night as people gathered to clean up fallen branches.
Immigration and deportation headlines have caused people to look for legal advice at a local ministry. A look at what they're hearing coming up.
And a school bus turned into a mobile thrift store. Madison Tyson makes her dream a reality as tonight's Eye on KELO. Well, good evening and thanks for joining us. The big news tonight, of course, are the storms that have been rolling through KELO. They entered the Sioux Falls area at about 8:30. And since then, we have been receiving many reports from callers in the area about fallen trees and even a street light in the 26th and Sertarma area.
Many people are also experiencing power outages. As of around 9:30 this evening, over 600 consumers were without power in Lincoln County, according to the South Dakota Rural Electric Association. There are more than 100 reported outages in Minnehaha, Turner, and Union counties as well. Xcel Energy has reported over 3,900 people without power in Sioux Falls.
And these storms produced tornadoes in some parts of the state earlier tonight as well. Here's a look at some video that viewers sent us from Gregory County, South Dakota. People in that area were also experiencing power outages tonight. Now, for the very latest, let's check in with our chief meteorologist, Jay Trobeck. You guys have been on the air for about over 5 hours already.
Yeah, we expected this to be a pretty widespread event all over central and eastern portions of KELO. This is the way it looks down on 41st Street. Well, it was 41st Street in Sioux Falls. We still have some wind, and we have had actually some winds within to about 60 miles an hour in the past half hour or so, but not nearly as destructive as before. Severe thunderstorm watch is just expiring for Sioux Falls and the southeastern tip of KELO. Northwest Iowa, southwest Minnesota continues until 1 a.m. And BK, we still have a destructive severe thunderstorm in the northwest part of Iowa.
We sure do, yeah. And this is, again, the leading edge is right around Primgar, Iowa. We've been watching basically all of this moving east. So as we get into the 10 o'clock hour now, there's Primgar right there. There's Paulina. Again, the warning right now is, at least on the actual text data from the National Weather Service, is up to 90-mile-an-hour winds hitting the ground level. I think that there's ample evidence to still support that. So if you are in Hartley, Everly, Spencer, Iowa, let's do a new storm tracker on this, because this will be, again, relevant to those of you downstream. And when we're talking about Okoboji in the Iowa Great Lakes, some of this is kind of grazing by. I'm going to zoom out here a little bit. So our movement right now is in the 60-mile-an-hour range. So that puts that storm into Cherokee by 10:06, Sutherland 10:06, and Peterson, Iowa 10:14. So it is pushing, you know, into the far eastern areas of KELO, but Okoboji is in that destructive severe thunderstorm warning right now. So we'll be monitoring all of this on the Iowa side of the border. It's been a really rough night of storms. Obviously, Jay, as you just recapped, this whole complex started out here near Gregory. We were tracking a tornado live on our live cam out of Gregory, and I can't recall very many times that that's happened over the years, but we witnessed that, and it's been really destructive winds since then.
And we'll have another update in just a couple of minutes, Don.
All right, thanks a lot, you guys. Keep it posted. In other news tonight,